aircraft executed a series of breathtaking maneuvers, akin to a dazzling aerial performance. It first shot upward rapidly, like a piercing arrow, then spiraled at a steep angle, tracing arcs in the sky. Next, it skimmed low, its wings almost grazing the ground. Observing the Eagle strike eye in the air, the experts from the Longting project team were left utterly astonished. Its agility was simply extraordinary. Academician Li Baoguo's eyes brimmed with astonishment. However, amidst the crowd, Zhang Hao and Lu Yu remained dismissive. What does it matter if it flies in a flashy manner? That proves nothing. It seems to me he merely repaired the engine, boosting its power a tad. Nothing remarkable. Just as they continued to voice their opinions, Yi Bai's voice resonated through the intercom. Clear and commanding. Yuan Tong, warm-up complete. Now, let us show everyone something truly thrilling. Accelerate. Break the sound barrier. What? Break the sound barrier. Upon hearing this command, Zhang Hao and Lu Yu nearly bit their tongues in disbelief. They felt as though they had heard the most ludicrous joke imaginable. Has he lost his mind? To attempt breaking the sound barrier with a trainer aircraft is utterly impossible. This is tantamount to murder. Yet, the moment their words fell, an astonishing spectacle unfolded in the sky. The Eagle strike eye abruptly adjusted its posture, aiming its nose toward the distant horizon. In the next second, a visible, pale blue halo erupted from its tail. The speed reached an unprecedented, terrifying magnitude in an instant. Then came the thunderous boom. A sound akin to a thunderclap rolled forth from the far-off heavens. Simultaneously, a ring of white, cloud-like shockwaves expanded violently from the Eagle strike eye's center. The sonic boom. It was a genuine sonic boom cloud. It truly broke the sound barrier. In that moment, the entire world seemed to plunge into an eerie silence. In the live stream, millions of viewers stared at the screen, transfixed by the miraculous sight, their minds blank. On the ground, Academician Li Baoguo and the expert team stood as if enchanted, collectively petrified in place. Meanwhile, Zhang Hao and Lu Yu, who had previously been so dismissive, now appeared ghostly pale, trembling uncontrollably. A mere trainer aircraft had truly exceeded the speed of sound. Their worldviews shattered in an instant by the earth-shattering sonic boom. Forgetting all decorum, they rushed frantically to Yi Bai. Mr. Yi, how on earth did you accomplish this? This defies all scientific understanding. However, the response did not come from Yi Bai, but rather from the reprimand of the professor. Academician Li Baoguo stepped forward, gazing at his two disheartened students. Have you forgotten what I taught you? Never make hasty judgments before truly understanding a person. As researchers, we must always maintain a humble and respectful heart. Upon hearing their mentor's words, Zhang Hao and Lu Yu felt a flush of shame, wishing they could vanish into the ground. Watching the Eagle strike eye, now a small black dot in the sky, still cruising at supersonic speeds, their arrogance dissipated entirely. So it can truly be done. As the Eagle strike eye landed smoothly on the runway in a perfect posture, the entire high-tech factory erupted in thunderous applause and cheers. In the live broadcast room, countless viewers inundated the screen with enthusiastic comments and expressions of awe, reflecting their profound shock. Yuan Tong descended from the cockpit, his face flushed with overwhelming excitement. He quickly approached Yi Bai, nearly speechless with exhilaration. Yi Shun, that was absolutely exhilarating. He then bowed deeply to Yi Bai, speaking with utmost sincerity. Yi Shun, I cannot thank you enough. Not only have you given me the most unique aircraft in the world, but you have also allowed me to experience the ultimate dream of a pilot. To express my gratitude, may I have the honor of inviting you on a global tour aboard this aircraft? Wherever you wish to go, we shall go. All expenses will be covered by Prince Salman and me. Just 1 week. Yi Shun, please grant me this opportunity. Yuan Tong's eyes sparkled with eager anticipation. However, Yi Bai shook his head with a wry smile. Captain Yuan, I appreciate your sentiment, but I currently do not have the leisure to embark on a global tour. He sighed and added jokingly, I'm still preoccupied with the matter of making money. When would I have time for leisure? Upon hearing the phrase making money, Yuan Tong's eyes brightened instantly. Chapter 377. Is the live broadcast room shut down? Yuan Tong seemed to have an epiphany, leaning closer to Yi Bai and speaking in a conspiratorial tone. Yi Shun, if you wish to make money, you absolutely must accompany me. Follow me. I assure you, this journey will not only be enjoyable, but will also yield unexpected profits. Oh, Yi Bai's interest piqued. Observing Yuan Tong's expression, he understood that he was not speaking idly. A few days would not hinder him significantly, and he indeed desired to go. Why not agree? Very well. Yi Bai decisively nodded. However, a week is too long. I can only spare you 3 days. 3 days? That will suffice. Absolutely sufficient. Yuan Tong exclaimed, nodding vigorously. Shall we depart now? Let us go at once. Yi Bai was also a man of prompt action. He turned to the live camera and smiled, addressing the audience. Dear friends in the live room, I have made a spontaneous decision to offer you all a treat. I will embark on a 3-day international journey aboard the Eagle Strike I, and I will live stream the entire experience. Where would you like me to go? Please let me know in the comments. Wow, a live-streamed international trip? Yi Shun is so adventurous. Let's go to Sakura country. I want to see Mount Fuji. How about Eagle Sauce country? Let us circle above Area 51. To the wealthy land. Let us explore the gold-laden Dubai. The live room erupted with excitement once more. Without hesitation, Yi Bai, Yuantong, and the mobile wallet. Prince Salman boarded the Eagle Strike I again. After a brief communication with the ground control tower, Yuantong promptly submitted a second flight route application to the Air Traffic Control Department of the Central Theater Command. When this application was escalated and finally landed on the desk of Commander Nya, a seasoned general, his brow furrowed in disapproval. This is absurd. He picked up the red phone and directly dialed the Air Traffic Control Center. Connect me to Yi Bai. The call was quickly transferred to the cockpit of the Eagle Strike I. Major Yi. Commander Nya's authoritative voice resonated from the receiver. What on earth are you doing? You've just completed your maiden flight test, and now you're planning an international flight? And live streaming it? Do you have any idea how crucial you and this aircraft are to our nation right now? Do you realize how many eyes are watching you? You must return immediately. Upon hearing Commander Nya's stern inquiry, the atmosphere in the cockpit grew tense. Yuantong hurriedly interjected into the communicator. Commander, we just wanted to take a trip to unwind. A trip? To unwind? Commander Nya's voice dripped with skepticism. Major Yi, I ask you, do you truly wish to take a break? Yi Bai recognized that Commander Nya was providing him a chance to back down. Yes, Commander. I have indeed been quite fatigued lately and wish to take a look around. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. After a long pause, Commander Nya's voice, laced with resignation yet tinged with concern, finally came through. Very well. You young people have significant pressure. A break is beneficial. I approve your route. However, not for 3 days. I will grant you 7 days. Exercise caution and report any issues to the embassy and military at once. Remember, the entire Dragon Nation stands behind you. Yes, Commander. Yi Bai and Yuantong replied in unison. As the communication ended, Yuantong sighed in relief. A smile of survival gracing his face. You scared me. I thought we might be grounded. He turned to Yi Bai and gave him a thumbs up. It's all thanks to you, Yi Shun. Yi Bai smiled but said nothing, turning his gaze toward the vast sky outside. This was an experience he had never had before, and he felt a deep yearning for it. Let us set forth. Absolutely, Yuantong affirmed, and with a thought. The Eagle Strike I soared like a liberated eagle, changing course and racing toward the expansive borders of the nation. As the aircraft ascended, a breathtaking panorama of the majestic Dragon Nation unfolded before Yi Bai and millions of viewers in the live room. The plane glided over the undulating mountain ranges, their ridges resembling the spine of a colossal dragon, winding gracefully. The sunlight cast a golden halo upon the snow-capped peaks, rendering them both sacred and solemn. The aircraft traversed boundless plains, with meandering rivers threading through the land like the lifeblood of the earth, nurturing countless creatures along its banks. Then came towering skyscrapers. How beautiful! This is our homeland. Viewed from this angle, it is breathtaking beyond words. Thank you, Yi Shun. We are fortunate to witness this magnificent landscape. I've never seen our great land from this perspective. Thank you, Yi Shun. Why do my eyes often brim with tears? It's because of my profound love for this land. In this life, I have no regrets for being part of Huaxia. In the next life, I would still choose to be a citizen of the Dragon Nation. Even Yi Bai, gazing at the land he had inhabited for over 20 years, felt an unprecedented swell of pride and love. Soon, the Eagle Strike I soared over the lengthy coastline and entered the vast, deep blue ocean. The horizon stretched infinitely before them. At that moment, Yuantong suddenly pointed below, exclaiming, Yi Shun, look, there are ships down there. Instinctively, Yi Bai directed the aircraft's external camera downward. Below, several enormous, streamlined gray ships were lined up in formation, bravely cutting through the waves. The powerful hulls, towering radars, and the ominous vertical launch units on their decks were unmistakable. Whoa, Yi Bai's heart skipped a beat. These aren't ordinary ships. This is clearly the most advanced fleet of our Dragon Nation's Navy. Just as he focused the camera on the warships, in less than 3 seconds, the entire live room went black. The screen displayed nothing but a single line of red warning text. This live stream room has been permanently banned for allegedly leaking military secrets. Swift as lightning. Truly outrageous. Chapter 378. President Douyin personally apologizes. Yi Bai understood that this was accompanied by warships, with armed guards and the notorious maritime rogue escorting them. That imposing vessel with its robust lines was undoubtedly the armed guardian responsible for close protection. It closely followed the Eagle Strike Eye, slicing through the white waves with an aura of unassailable menace. The other slightly smaller ship was the infamous maritime rogue. With these two formidable entities flanking him, Yi Bai felt a sense of security that even a cross-border flight could not shake. He would feel at ease even if he were to dance in the skies above Area 51. Just then, his satellite phone rang unexpectedly. Glancing at the unfamiliar number from the capital, Yi Bai raised an eyebrow and answered it. In the next moment, a voice filled with anxiety and remorse rushed through the receiver. Mr. Yi, this is Zhou Hongyu from Douyin. I apologize. Truly, I am sorry. We have made a significant error in our operations. On behalf of the company, I extend our sincerest apologies. Zhou Hongyu? Yi Bai recalled the name, president of Douyin. Before he could respond, Yuan Tong excitedly shouted through the public channel. Ye God, the live stream room has been unbanned. It's back. It's back. Yi Bai glanced at the split screen on the control panel. Indeed, the previously black screen of the live stream had resumed, and the comments were refreshing at an explosive rate. Wow, it's back. I was terrified, thinking Ye God was being hunted internationally. What happened just now? My screen went black, and I thought my phone was broken. Someone must have reported it. Damn, can't stand to see Ye God doing well, can they? Incredible. Ye God is indeed Ye God. Even a platform ban can be lifted for you. The corners of Yi Bai's mouth curled upwards as he spoke in a nonchalant tone to Zhou Hongyu on the other end. Mr. Zhou, your call is quite timely. Yes. Yes. Mr. Yi, it's a colossal misunderstanding. A monumental misunderstanding. Zhou Hongyu's voice dripped with sweat, almost tearful in his explanation. Our back-end review system detected that your flight footage involved some overly advanced military facilities, triggering the highest level of automatic shutdown mechanism, which is why your live stream was mistakenly banned. I have contacted the relevant technical team. Your live stream will now be granted the highest level of permissions. Please believe me. This was never our intention. Even if we had 1,000 guts, we wouldn't dare to ban your live stream. Yi Bai found this amusing. The excuse was indeed seamless. However, he had no intention of pursuing the matter further and merely stated, All right, Mr. Zhou, I understand the situation. Let this be a lesson. Absolutely. Absolutely. Zhou Hongyu exclaimed as if relieved from a heavy burden. To express our apologies, we have set your live stream to the highest priority across the platform. For the next 24 hours, every user opening Douyin will see your live stream first. We guarantee that your international journey will become a global phenomenon. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Bai watched in awe as the popularity of his live stream skyrocketed in the upper right corner, as if propelled by a rocket. 300,000, 400,000, 450,000. In mere moments, the online viewer count surged from the 2 to 300,000 at the time of the ban to over 500,000. And it continued to rise at an astonishing rate. The entire live stream room was in a frenzy. Wow, 500,000. I can't be seeing this wrong, right? It's only been a few minutes since the ban was lifted. Official. I just logged in and saw. The first one on the homepage is Ye God. This prominence is unparalleled. Haha. What does it mean to turn misfortune into fortune? Getting banned once only resulted in even higher popularity. Awesome. Watching the viewers flood into the live stream like a tidal wave, along with the astonishing surge of the impact value on his system panel, Yi Bai felt an overwhelming sense of exhilaration. He even felt a tinge of gratitude towards the one who mistakenly banned his live stream. This wave of operations was indeed 100 times more effective than buying promotions. Is this the power of a top-tier platform? Truly terrifying. Under the adoration of countless netizens and the close protection of 2 escorting warships, the Eagle Strike Eye transformed into a silver streak, slicing through the sky, heading towards its first destination, Myanmar. As the plane entered Myanmar's airspace, Yuan Tong lowered the flight altitude according to the predetermined route. Yi Bai peered out the window, eager to admire the exotic scenery of a land said to be ravaged by conflict. From the scattered reports he had seen in the news, gunfire was a daily occurrence here, and armed conflicts between different factions had become commonplace. However, as the plane gradually descended, gliding over cities and jungles, Yi Bai was astonished to discover a scene of tranquility below. There was no sight of thick smoke, nor any sound of gunfire. The entire nation seemed to have mysteriously pressed the mute button overnight. All conflicts bizarrely ceased. The streets were bustling with activity, smoke curling from kitchens in the fields. Everything appeared so peaceful, even somewhat surreal. What is going on? Yi Bai pondered. Wasn't this supposed to be a chaotic place? It seemed more serene than my hometown during the New Year. When the Eagle Strike, I landed smoothly on the exclusive runway at the capital airport. An even more astonishing scene unfolded. Soldiers armed to the teeth stood in formation along both sides of the runway, presenting a ceremonial guard of the highest specifications. A middle-aged general, impeccably dressed in military attire with stars on his shoulders, awaited at the end of the red carpet on the tarmac. Upon seeing Yi Bai and Prince Salman descend the stairs with Yuan Tong, the general quickly approached, his face beaming with an expression of utmost warmth and respect. Saluting Yi Bai with a standard military gesture. Welcome. A warm welcome to Mr. Yi. The general spoke in somewhat stiff but fluent Chinese. I am Min Aung Hlaing of the Myanmar National Defense Forces, sent by the Commander-in-Chief to welcome our esteemed guests. Yi Bai was utterly bewildered. Was this grand reception truly for him, a mere tourist? One might think a head of state from a great nation was visiting for diplomatic purposes. Chapter 379. The purely enjoyable journey of Tang Sung. Yi Bai thought to himself, good gracious, yet maintained a composed demeanor as he shook hands with the general. You are too courteous, General. We are just passing through, taking the opportunity to appreciate the customs of your esteemed country. You are too modest, Mr. Yi. General Min Aung Hlaing smiled even more brightly. Your arrival is an honor for our entire nation. To welcome you, the Commander-in-Chief has ordered a nationwide ceasefire for 3 days. Ensuring your journey in our country is absolutely safe and enjoyable. Hearing this, Yi Bai nearly spat out a mouthful of blood. Good gracious. This strange peace stemmed from his very presence. He could not help but internally scoff. This is not a tour. I am clearly a mobile peace dove, bringing tranquility wherever I go. That night, General Min Aung Hlaing hosted an opulent welcome banquet for Yi Bai and his entourage at the most luxurious state guest house in the area. The long dining table was adorned with an array of Myanmar's signature dishes, the aroma wafting enticingly. Dressed in traditional attire, the beautiful woman from Myanmar danced gracefully nearby, creating an atmosphere that was both fervent and lavish. After several rounds of drinks, General Min Aung Hlaing leaned closer to Yi Bai, lowering his voice and displaying a knowing smile that only men could understand. Mr. Yi, in Myanmar, we may not have much, but we are rich in beauty. I have arranged for you several of our country's most exquisite singers and dancers. However, before he could finish, Yi Bai interrupted him with a smile. I appreciate the general's kindness. He raised his glass, gently swirling it, his gaze unintentionally drifting towards the distant, pitch-black sea outside the window. However, I accept the sentiment, but not the offer. What kind of international joke is this? He chuckled coldly to himself. Not only was he currently uninterested in those superficial beauties, but the thought of the armed guards sent by his mother trailing him on that sea dampened any frivolous thoughts. If they dared to act recklessly here, it wouldn't be long before a detailed report landed on Commander Nye's desk. He had no desire to face consequences for such trivial matters. Although he had chosen to embark on this journey, his country had given prior notice. He could not afford to tarnish his nation's reputation. Observing Yi Bai's resolute demeanor, Min Aung Hlaing's eyes flickered with a trace of barely perceptible awe, and he quickly nodded in agreement, no longer daring to bring up the subject. The night passed without further conversation. The following morning, after Yi Bai politely declined General Min Aung Hlaing's repeated invitations, he and his party boarded the Eagle Strike I, soaring into the sky amidst the reluctant farewells of Myanmar's military high command, en route to their next destination. Bidding farewell to the fervent Myanmar generals, the Eagle Strike I ascended once more, transforming into an elusive silver thread at 10,000 meters, heading straight for Myanmar's neighbor, Mengwa. Upon the aircraft's steady landing at Mengwa's capital airport, the reception was even more extravagant than that in Myanmar. The president of Mengwa himself led a group of cabinet officials, laying a bright red carpet on the tarmac, having waited eagerly. As Yi Bai descended the staircase, the elderly president approached with a beaming smile, grasping Yi Bai's hand warmly. Mr. Yi, welcome to Mengwa. We have always enjoyed a very good trade relationship with your esteemed nation and our steadfast partners. Yi Bai observed the president's enthusiasm, almost overflowing, and inwardly marveled, though he maintained a calm smile, responding politely, You are too kind, Mr. President. I am merely here to enjoy a little travel and respite. Ah, yes. Yes. The president's smile widened, wearing an expression of understanding. I comprehend. You from Longwa are always so modest. As our guest, we have prepared the most sumptuous state banquet for you. Please do honor us. Faced with such warmth, Yi Bai felt it inappropriate to decline. During his day in Mengwa, he experienced the treatment befitting a state guest, as an array of exquisite delicacies was presented to him, showcasing the utmost hospitality. After a brief stay, the Eagle Strike I took to the skies once more. In the cockpit, Yuan Tong reviewed the flight path and inquired, Yi Shun, according to our original plan, our next destination is the capital of Asangua. Yi Bai, without a moment's hesitation, waved his hand dismissively. Let us bypass it entirely. At this moment, he yearned to reach his destination swiftly, harboring no interest in a country that could be likened to a lizard capable of becoming a third sister-in-law, a thought that repulsed him. Understood. Yuan Tong immediately complied. The eagle strike I arced through the air, deftly avoiding Asangua's airspace as it sped towards the West Asian regions. As the aircraft entered the airspace of Langua, the landscape below transformed dramatically. Unlike the preceding nations, this territory displayed vast expanses of desolation. Aside from a small area near the airport, twinkling with the lights of modern urbanity, there were scant signs of contemporary civilization. Only an endless stretch of yellow desert that appeared particularly desolate under the setting sun. The plane showed no signs of stopping, flying straight into the depths of the boundless sands like an arrow released from a bow. Finally, after several hours of flight, a dazzling modern metropolis, gleaming like a pearl amidst the desert, emerged on the horizon. The eagle strike I descended gently onto a luxurious private airport. Here, there were no commercial aircraft. Only rows of uniquely designed private jets and top-tier supercars, quietly parked in temperature-controlled hangars. Yi Shun, we have arrived. This is our final destination. Yuan Tong's face was alight with excitement. As the plane came to a stop, a young man dressed in a custom white robe, exuding an extraordinary presence and wearing a radiant smile, rushed towards them, flanked by a group of attendants. Teacher, you have returned. The young man first embraced Yuan Tong warmly, then turned his gaze to Yi Bai, his eyes filled with unabashed admiration and fervor. They lacked financial resources, but they yearned for someone like Yi Bai, a prodigious individual capable of transforming any vehicle. The mere thought of Yi Bai modifying his car was far more thrilling than any golden supercar. Yuan Tong proudly introduced. Yi Shun, allow me to present to you the individual I mentioned, my benefactor, His Highness Prince Inokris. Prince Inokris swiftly approached Yi Bai, extending both hands with palpable excitement. Speaking in a tone akin to a fan meeting their idol, Yi Shun, I finally have the honor of meeting you in person. I am your fervent admirer. In response to Prince Inokris's nearly idolizing gaze, Yi Bai merely smiled lightly and shook his hand. You flatter me, Your Highness. It is but a trivial technical modification. Yet, at that moment, Prince Inokris unexpectedly performed an action that left everyone present astounded. He suddenly faltered, collapsing to his knees before Yi Bai. Yi Shun, this prince, of noble birth and considerable wealth, now had red-rimmed eyes, his voice tinged with a hint of desperation as he pleaded, Please, save my life. This sudden turn of events left Yi Bai bewildered. Instinctively, he reached out to assist, inquiring, Your Highness, what are you doing? How can I save you? He was merely a technician, not a deity. How could he possibly save a life? Yet, Prince Inokris clung tightly to Yi Bai's leg, as if grasping the last lifeline. His voice trembling, My third brother, Abdul, wants to kill me in the struggle for the throne. A power struggle? Yi Bai furrowed his brow, suddenly understanding. He had seen such dramas in historical plays. It was merely the pursuit of supreme power, where brothers turned against one another. He curiously asked, I have heard that your royal family has numerous princes. There are so many that they could form an enhanced battalion. Why then the fierce contention for the throne? Prince Inokris's face bore a bittersweet smile as he shook his head. Yi Shun, you may not be aware. Although we have many princes, only a few possess the right to the throne. Currently, aside from my third brother, the only others eligible are my second brother Muhammad and myself. He paused, his voice laced with despair. My second brother Muhammad commands a powerful military force and enjoys significant popularity among the people. I am the weakest of the heirs, posing no threat to them whatsoever. Yet, despite this, my brother Abdul remains relentless in his pursuit. He believes that only with my demise can he regain our father's favor and usurp my position. I do not wish to die, Lord Yi. I truly do not wish for my life to end. The eyes of Prince Inokris reflected nothing but pure terror. I implore you to save me, regardless of the cost. I am willing to sacrifice everything. As he spoke, a sudden thought seemed to strike him, and he immediately snapped his fingers at the attendant behind him. One servant promptly understood and hurried forward, presenting a sleek black bank card adorned with golden edges. Lord Yi. Prince Inokris raised the card high with both hands, offering it to Yi Bai with utmost reverence. I have heard from my mentor that you recently encountered some financial difficulties. This card contains $1 billion, a token of my utmost respect for you. Please, you must accept it. $1 billion, a token of goodwill. When these words escaped Prince Inokris' lips, even Yi Bai, with his composed demeanor, could not help but feel his pupils constrict in astonishment. He gazed at the slender card before him, sensing its weight akin to a mountain. Good heavens! After all his labor with electric vehicles, drones, live broadcasts, and countless efforts, he had only amassed a few hundred billion yuan in profit. And here, someone casually tossed $1 billion his way, a staggering sum exceeding 70 billion yuan. The opulence of such wealth was indeed awe-inspiring. This was no mere affluence. It was the embodiment of a walking money-printing machine. The magnitude of this offer caused Yi Bai's heart to skip a beat. He quickly calculated that $1 billion, converted into long currency, equated to over 70 small objectives. This was not merely generosity. It was an extravagant display of wealth. With this sum, he could effortlessly rectify the colossal deficit his family faced. However, despite his astonishment, Yi Bai did not immediately reach for the card. He helped Prince Enocras to his feet, gazing at him with a calm demeanor, and slowly shook his head. Your Highness, I appreciate your intentions. Yet, as an outsider, I fear I cannot intervene in the internal strife of your royal family. Yi Bai's voice was measured, yet his resolve was unwavering. Our nation's diplomatic policy has always been to refrain from interfering in the domestic affairs of others. This is our principle, and as a citizen of Long, I must abide by it. What a folly it would be to involve myself in a struggle for the throne. That would be infinitely more perilous than wielding an electromagnetic cannon on the battlefields of Africa. Such treacherous waters are not for me to navigate. Upon hearing Yi Bai's refusal, the color drained from Prince Enocra's face, and the flickering hope he had felt was extinguished as if doused by a bucket of cold water, leaving him on the brink of despair. Lord Yi, do you truly choose to stand idly by as I face death? Yi Bai observed the desperation etched on his face, and his heart stirred slightly. He then shifted his tone, saying, while I cannot directly engage in your royal disputes, there remains potential for collaboration between us. If you have technological needs, I can provide assistance. You may visit our Cloud Sky Technology Factory in the Imperial Capital, where we can engage in equitable technological cooperation. As he spoke, he pointed to the black gold card in Prince Enocra's hand. I can accept this $1 billion. However, consider it not a mere token of goodwill, but rather a deposit for your procurement of products from Cloud Sky Technology. We can offer you the most advanced civilian technological products and services available. Prince Enocras was taken aback, and his expression morphed into one that was more pained than if he were weeping. Civilian technology? He shook his head with a bitter smile. Lord Yi, are you jesting? My brother has dispatched well-equipped professional assassins, even mercenaries. How could civilian technology possibly contend with them? It is utterly useless. What he needed were life-saving weapons, military-grade equipment that could offer him protection, not frivolous consumer products. Yet, just as despair began to engulf Prince Enocras, Yuan Tong suddenly brightened, leaning in and patting his shoulder. Your Highness, who says civilian technology is ineffective? Yuan Tong's face bore a cunning smile. Lord Ye's civilian technology is not your average fare. Just think, what if we could procure a batch of the most advanced firefighting products from Lord Yi? Would that not be useful? Firefighting products? Prince Enocras was bewildered, unable to follow Yuan Tong's line of reasoning. Yuan Tong, seeing his perplexity, gently coaxed, Your Highness, consider this. With your family's vast wealth and property, what is the greatest fear within your palaces and estates? It is the threat of fire. We could certainly procure top-tier firefighting equipment from Lord Yi in the name of enhancing fire safety. For instance, the portable rocket launcher capable of firing extinguishing projectiles, or the rapid-fire firefighting machine gun. Yuan Tong's eyes gleamed enticingly. Furthermore, think of your adversaries, those who wish you harm. Do they not represent a clear and present danger in your life? Since they are a danger, would it not be reasonable and justified to extinguish that danger with firefighting equipment? Yuan Tong's words sliced through the fog of confusion enveloping Prince Enocra's mind. He stared at Yuan Tong, his mouth agape as thoughts raced through his mind. Firefighting products? Extinguishing projectiles? A firefighting machine gun? To extinguish the dangers in life? This line of reasoning was audaciously clever. If he could leverage the purchase of firefighting tools to solicit Lord Ye's assistance, it was indeed a feasible plan. He lacked for nothing but the means to protect himself. Yi Bai observed the transformation of Prince Enocra's expression from astonishment to sheer elation and secretly chuckled to himself. He refrained from revealing the truth, simply adding, Very well, let us proceed with this plan. This resolution not only addressed Enocra's security concerns, but also adhered perfectly to his principle of offering only civilian technology, resulting in an exquisitely harmonious solution. Splendid, splendid. Prince Enocras nodded vigorously, overwhelmed with excitement. Lord Yi, please rest at the hotel. I shall immediately arrange for my team to liaise with yours regarding all the details. With that, he eagerly dragged Yuan Tong towards his palace, animatedly discussing the subsequent arrangements along the way. Meanwhile, Yi Bai, guided by his attendants, checked into an opulent 7-star hotel. In the resplendent palace of Prince Enocras, however, doubts still lingered. He clutched Yuan Tong's arm, his face a mask of uncertainty. Minter, are you certain those firefighting products will be effective? It sounds rather unreliable. Throughout their journey, Yuan Tong had insisted that firefighting tools would suffice, leaving Prince Enocras perplexed and questioning. Yet, he possessed enough emotional intelligence to refrain from voicing his concerns in front of Yi Bai, opting instead to seek clarification from Yuan Tong privately. Yuan Tong, amused by his naivete, smiled enigmatically, producing his phone and opening a pre-saved compilation of humorous short videos. Presenting it to the prince. Your Highness, take a look. After viewing, you will understand just how effective Lord Ye's firefighting products truly are. Skeptical yet intrigued, Prince Enocras accepted the phone. The first video began to play, showcasing a scene in a vast testing ground. A firefighter clad in protective gear hoisted a device resembling an RPG rocket launcher, aimed at a burning scrap car in the distance. With the pull of a trigger, the flames that could melt steel were abruptly quelled. The entire process was executed with remarkable efficiency, taking less than a second. Astonished, Prince Enoclas couldn't help but exclaim, his eyes wide as saucers. Was that a fire extinguisher? With a single shot, the flames were extinguished? Just imagine if the shells inside were replaced with proper grenades. Before he could recover from his shock, the next video seamlessly began. Firefighting machine gun. This time, the footage shifted to a heavy machine gun mounted on a tripod. As the trigger was pulled, bullets composed of a special extinguishing agent were rapidly fired, producing a dull, thudding sound. Wherever they struck, the flames fell as if harvested like wheat, extinguished in swathes. The efficiency of this suppression was magnitudes greater than that of traditional high-pressure water guns. Moreover, the firing rate rivaled that of a Maxim gun. Wouldn't you agree? Prince Enoclas's mouth was agape, wide enough to fit an egg. Trembling, he swiped to the next video. Dragon King Multifunctional Urban Rescue Platform. The video began with a striking CG animation. A fire engine red, heavily armored truck with tracks came to a halt in the city center. As the alarm blared, the side launch units opened, and dozens of firefighting missiles, trailing flames, shot forth, precisely covering a fire several kilometers away like a celestial shower. The scene then transitioned to real news footage. Faced with a massive blaze capable of engulfing an entire wholesale market, the Dragon King platform extinguished the inferno completely within 3 minutes through a saturation missile strike. Boom, boom, boom. The apocalyptic barrage of missiles and the instantaneously extinguished flames created a stark visual contrast, deeply etched into Prince Enoclas's mind. His breath quickened, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. He could hardly believe his eyes but continued to watch, trembling. Inglong H-60 aerial mother nest. The video showcased a formidable, aggressive-looking giant drone hovering above the city. Upon receiving commands, its belly hatch opened, and hundreds of small drones poured out like a swarm of bees, launching a comprehensive, no-holds-barred assault on a burning building. In disbelief, Prince Enoclas dropped his phone, feeling utterly drained, collapsing onto the luxurious carpet, murmuring to himself, "Is this truly what you call firefighting equipment? This could easily be repurposed for military deployment. Civilian use? This is exponentially more advanced than the military weapons of our nation's elite royal guard. Without a doubt, if that drone mother nest were stationed above my residence, equipped with kamikaze drones, no matter the number of adversaries, it would spell certain doom." Following this, Yuan Tong showcased rescue mechas, leaving Prince Enoclas utterly speechless. The drone mother nest and missile platforms were one thing, but creating Iron Man and Gundam-like machines seemed excessive. Not to mention, if one were to consider firefighting, such technology could easily be utilized for elite combat forces. Witnessing Prince Enoclas's astonishment, Yuan Tong wore a knowing expression, as if to say, "You ought to explore the world beyond your insular confines. The real world, teeming with advancements, lies outside the walls." Chapter 382. A $3 billion deal. A sleepless night enveloped Prince Enoclas, who spent what felt like an eternity grappling with the profound shock of his discovery. The so-called firefighting products from Yi Bai played on repeat in his mind, refusing to fade away. For the first time, he comprehended the sheer magnitude of a certain Eastern power. At dawn the next day, unable to contain himself any longer, Prince Enoclas assembled a large entourage of lawyers, financial advisors, and royal officials, and made his way to the hotel suite where Yi Bai was staying. Yi Shun, Upon seeing Yi Bai, Prince Anaklas could no longer suppress his excitement, rushing forward with an unprecedented gleam in his eyes. I have made my decision. I want every single one of your firefighting products. The portable rocket fire extinguisher, the firefighting machine gun, the Dragon King platform, and the Yinglong mother nest. I want them all. His voice trembled with enthusiasm. It was indeed hard for outsiders to imagine the Prince of Camels could become so animated over a purchase, akin to a young man ecstatic over acquiring the latest smartphone. Money is no object. I aim to establish the most formidable royal firefighting team in the world. Anyone daring to ignite a fire within my territory shall be extinguished at once. Yi Bai, observing his eager demeanor, stifled a smile but maintained a serious facade. Your Highness, cooperation is certainly feasible. However, the specifics of the procurement list and amounts must be discussed and finalized by our teams. Not an issue. Absolutely no problem. Prince Anaklas declared grandly, my team is prepared. We must finalize all contracts today. In the ensuing hours, the hotel conference room witnessed an epic buying spree. For the first time, Yi Bai observed the extravagant purchasing habits of the Camel Prince. The initial estimates were indeed conservative. Portable rocket fire extinguishers? Let's start with 1,000 sets. Firefighting machine guns. Excellent. I'll take 500. The Dragon King platform? This is essential. Let's order 5, no 10. What? You don't sell this? Then I want 100 sets of Iron Man and Gundam each. You don't sell those either? Then I'll have 5 Yinglong mother nests. I want this mythical creature from the east circling above my palace 24 hours a day. Ultimately, by that afternoon, a staggering procurement contract amounting to $3 billion was officially signed. $3 billion, converted to long coins, that exceeded 210 small goals. When this exorbitant firefighting product procurement contract was made public through official channels, the entire world was left in astonishment, whether among mainstream financial media or military forums. Everyone who encountered the news was plunged into deep self-doubt. $3 billion for firefighting equipment. Am I seeing this correctly? Is this magnate so flush with cash that he has nothing better to spend it on? This is madness. The world has completely lost its mind. Over 200 billion long coins could establish a modern heavy armored combined brigade, and yet he spends it on fire trucks and extinguishers. What kind of celestial company is Yunxiao Technology? Are there firefighting products made of gold? What justifies such exorbitant pricing? What on earth is going on? I cannot comprehend this at all. Does the magnate's palace conceal an active volcano that could erupt at any moment? Does it require such formidable firefighting capabilities? Global discourse descended into a haze of confusion and bewilderment, as no one could grasp the rationale behind this transaction. Meanwhile, in another opulent palace within the kingdom of the magnate, Prince Anaklas's brother, Prince Abdul, was initially taken aback by the news, then erupted into uproarious laughter. Ha ha ha. He laughed so hard he nearly doubled over, tears streaming down his face as he pointed at the headline of the news article, addressing his aides. Look at this. Just look at my foolish Hiroto. He actually spent $3 billion on a bunch of firefighting products. Has he lost his mind? A sycophantic aide chimed in. Indeed, Your Highness. This substantial sum of money, if allocated to bolster the guard and procure the most advanced weaponry, could significantly enhance his power. Yet, he chooses to squander it on establishing a fire brigade. It's utterly ludicrous. Abdul's face grew increasingly sardonic as he raised his glass, contemptuously remarking, not only has he purchased firefighting equipment, but he has also publicly declared his intention to transform his only moderately well-equipped guard into a royal fire brigade. It is tantamount to self-mutilation. I initially regarded him as a potential threat, but it seems he is merely an incorrigible fool. Relay my orders. A glint of cold determination flashed in Abdul's eyes. Let the eradication plan be expedited. Since he delights in playing with fire, I shall bestow upon him an inferno that he will never extinguish. On the day following the exorbitant contract signing, Yi Bai gracefully declined Prince Anaklas's invitation for another farewell banquet. Embarking on the return flight aboard the Eagle Strike I with a staggering deposit of $1 billion and an outrageously lengthy procurement list, he wasted no time, heading straight back to his homeland. The ensuing act was to be performed by Prince Anaklas himself. This seemingly naive and impulsive affluent prince may possess wealth in abundance, but he is certainly not foolish. The remaining payment of $2 billion would not be so easily acquired. He must witness the genuine firefighting efficacy of these products before he willingly disburses the funds. Upon returning to the capital's high-tech factory, Yi Bai immediately distributed the $30 billion procurement list among the various production departments. The entire production line of Yunxiao Technology and its subcontractors sprang into action, entering an unprecedented state of rapid operation. The contents of this list were nothing short of extravagant. Portable rocket fire extinguishers, 10,000 sets. Firefighting machine guns, 3,000 units. Inglong H-60 aerial mothership, 5 units, along with several supporting drone units. It was evident that Prince Enochlos had thoroughly analyzed the short videos presented to him by Yuantong. Aside from the items that were not for sale, he had placed an order resembling a comprehensive package based on the video's content. Among them, the highly powerful yet relatively agile equipment suitable for individual or small unit operations numbered the most, particularly the portable rocket fire extinguishers and firefighting machine guns. Deemed core firefighting tools had their order quantities exceeding 10,000, clearly intending to employ a saturation assault to overwhelm any adversaries daring enough to ignite a flame. Chapter 383. The astonished affluent general with the production line operating at full throttle, the creation of these items proceeded swiftly. As the saying goes, do not compare speed with the Dragon Kingdom, especially when funds are abundant. No one can rival it. Soon, the first batch of firefighting equipment was completed and successfully delivered. Yi Bai observed the list with a slight smile while maintaining constant communication with the other side. After all, the final payment had yet to be received. Should an unforeseen circumstance arise and jeopardize this substantial sum, Yi Bai would find himself with no place to lament. When the first batch of firefighting products, expedited by Yunxiao Technology, arrived at Prince Enochlos' private territory, the prince immediately summoned his elite and only combat-capable guard, the Desert Eagle Guard, announcing a command that left everyone astounded. From this day forth, the Desert Eagle Guard shall officially be restructured as the Royal Fire Brigade. Our sole mission will be to extinguish all fires threatening the kingdom's safety. Upon hearing this decree, the ranks of the guard erupted in disbelief. Soldiers turned firefighters? How absurd. Several core leaders of the guard promptly approached Prince Enochlos, their faces etched with confusion and indignation. After all, it is difficult for anyone to accept the sudden transformation from a regular military unit to a firefighting squad. Ordinary soldiers would struggle to comprehend it. Naturally, these leaders and officers found it even more unacceptable. The issue of pride was secondary. The primary concern was the diminishing power and status they would face. The prestige of a fire brigade captain pales in comparison to that of a military general. This is self-evident. Your Highness, what are you doing? General Hassan, at the forefront, passionately inquired. We are warriors. The sharpest sword in your hand, not mere firefighters wielding hoses. What you are doing is an affront to us. Indeed, Your Highness. Another young leader echoed. These are extraordinary times. The third prince is eyeing you with intent, and instead of augmenting our military capabilities, you wish for us to become firefighters? There is an old saying in the Dragon Kingdom. This is akin to self-sabotage. Faced with the general's uproar, Prince Enochlos offered little explanation, merely smiling enigmatically and gesturing for them to follow. I understand you have many questions. Come with me. Once you witness the new equipment of our fire brigade, you will reassess your thoughts. He led the skeptical generals to a vast hangar. As the hangar doors slowly opened, sunlight illuminated the neatly arranged firefighting products within, leaving all the generals momentarily dumbfounded. What did they behold? Rows of portable rocket fire extinguishers resembling RPGs, a series of firefighting machine guns with dark barrels, and the first batch of Inglong H-60 aerial motherships. General Hassan trembled as he approached, running his hand over the cold barrel of a rocket fire extinguisher. Feeling its substantial weight, his throat involuntarily bobbed as he turned to look at Prince Enochlos with a ghostly expression, his voice trembling. Is this truly the firefighting equipment you spoke of, Your Highness? Another general rushed to a firefighting machine gun, expertly cycling the bolt and relishing the crisp, powerful mechanical sound, his eyes ablaze with disbelief. This rate of fire, this caliber, this is no firefighting weapon. It is clearly a heavy anti-material machine gun, more formidable than our current arsenal. They then watched the introduction and promotional video for the Inglong H-60 aerial mothership, leaving them utterly astonished. If this craft were to soar above the battlefield, provided it wasn't shot down, wouldn't it lead to an unending slaughter? Both men stood with their mouths agape, unable to close them for an extended period. They began to grasp the immense capabilities of the Eastern superpower's military prowess. If even firefighting equipment could be this formidable, what might true military weaponry entail? They dared not imagine. Seeing the general's astonished expressions, Prince Enochlos felt a swell of pride. So, what do you think, esteemed generals? Do you still find it humiliating to be firefighters? General Hassan's face flushed, and he straightened his posture, performing an impeccable military salute to Prince Enochlos, declaring with thunderous conviction, Report, Your Highness. I, Hassan, shall henceforth be a proud firefighter, ever ready to extinguish any fire for your highness. We too. The other leaders responded in unison, their morale soaring to unprecedented heights. Before long, the newly established Royal Fire Brigade was fully outfitted, commencing adaptive training with their new equipment. The powerful performance and terrifying efficiency of the firefighting gear left every soldier exhilarated, shouting in excitement. Yet, this unconventional fire brigade soon became the subject of ridicule among the kingdom's military. Upon discovering that Prince Enoclas had transformed his most elite forces into a fire brigade, the armed forces of other princes began to mock him. Have you heard? Prince Enoclas has forsaken the military to become a firefighter. Ha ha ha, what a waste. Instead of leading a proper army, he chooses to become a firefighter. He might as well run for the position of fire chief. Such rumors reached General Hassan and his soldiers, inciting their fury to the brink of explosion. A few hot-headed young officers even sought out the mocking troops, challenging them to a duel, eager to demonstrate who the true waste was through a military exercise. Upon learning of this, Prince Enoclas summoned several generals to his office and reprimanded them sternly. Who sent you to challenge them? Remain calm. He glanced at General Hassan, who wore a defiant expression, and his tone turned serious. What we need now is not to compete fiercely, but to conceal our strength and distance ourselves from the centers of power. With that, he produced a map and pointed to a small border town named Sarah, located at the southernmost tip of the kingdom, adjacent to the neighboring nation of Fish Country. Starting tomorrow, our Royal Fire Brigade will relocate to this town for routine firefighting patrols and exercises. General Hassan furrowed his brow as he examined the map. Your Highness, Sarah is known as the most chaotic place in our kingdom, constantly embroiled in conflicts with the armed forces of Fish Country. It is a war zone. Precisely. Prince Enoclas interrupted. It is precisely because of the frequent conflicts and rampant fires that our professional fire brigade is most needed, is it not? Chapter 384, The Final Payment. I will pay now. Under Prince Enoclas's orders, the newly established Royal Fire Brigade boldly advanced to the southern border, to the town of Sarah. Perpetually plagued by conflict with Fish Country, the area was engulfed in yellow dust, situated in a remote region on the periphery of the kingdom's power. Various local armed groups, smuggling gangs, and terrorists had taken refuge here, colluding with the border forces of Fish Country, transforming the area into a lawless land where warfare unfolded almost daily. As the convoy of the Royal Fire Brigade arrived at the designated campsite on the outskirts of town, before they could even set up camp, a cacophony of gunfire and brazen shouts erupted nearby. Bang, bang, bang. A hail of bullets rained down upon the armored vehicles of the brigade, sparking a shower of flames. Soon, dozens of pickup trucks armed with heavy machine guns surged from behind the sand dunes, encircling the camp. A scar-faced leader of the armed group, clad in a black scarf, bellowed through a loudspeaker. This is the territory of the Desert Wolves. No matter where you came from, drop all your supplies and weapons and get lost. Otherwise, we will turn you into dried corpses in the desert. General Hassan and his soldiers instantly turned pale. Had they ever been subjected to such indignity? Once, their Desert Eagle Guard had been a force to be reckoned with, respected wherever they went. Yet now, clad in firefighter uniforms and driving seemingly harmless fire trucks, they were being bullied by a band of inconsequential terrorists. Your Highness. General Hassan's eyes blazed with fury as he stormed toward Prince Enoclas, shouting angrily. These scoundrels are clearly taking advantage of us, not being a regular army. Please give the order for us to strike. I want to personally take that scoundrel's head. Prince Enoclas surveyed the audacious terrorists in the distance, and rather than exhibiting fear, a smile flickered across his face. This was precisely the effect he desired. General Hassan, what is your current title? The prince inquired leisurely. Reporting, Your Highness. I am the captain of the Royal Fire Brigade. Hassan replied loudly. Excellent. Prince Enoclas nodded, pointing toward the distant trucks that were firing. Do you not see? The flames are rising high, and the fire poses a severe threat to our camp's safety. As the fire brigade captain, what should you do now? General Hassan paused for a moment before comprehending the prince's intent, his eyes igniting with fervent battle spirit. He straightened his chest, saluted the prince with precision, and thundered, reporting. Your Highness, a major fire has been detected ahead, requesting emergency response. I guarantee the completion of the firefighting mission. Approved. Prince Enoclas waved his hand. Remember, act swiftly and thoroughly. Leave no spark behind. Yes, the order was given, and the Royal Fire Brigade, pent up with frustration, sprang into action. Fire Team 1. Prepare portable rocket extinguishers. Fire Team 2. Provide suppressive fire with firefighting machine guns. Air support. The Yinglong Mother Nest is taking off. conduct reconnaissance and targeted elimination of the fire scene. With General Hassan's command, a firefighting operation that could only be described as a dimensional strike commenced. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Dozens of firefighters, shouldering portable rocket extinguishers, knelt down, aiming at the trucks that were still wildly shooting. There was no thunderous roar of cannon fire, only the sharp sound of rockets slicing through the air. Each firefighting projectile, trailing flames, accelerated to a speed far surpassing that of conventional RPGs, striking their targets with precision. Boom, boom, boom. The once mighty armed pickups were torn apart upon contact with the firefighting projectiles, disintegrating under the immense shockwave and heat, turning into flaming scrap metal. Who said extinguishers can only shoot firefighting projectiles? Meanwhile, the intersecting firepower network of dozens of firefighting machine guns ruthlessly mowed down the fleeing terrorists. The sound of gunfire became their last gasp of life. Above, the Yinglong H-60 airborne mother nest unleashed a barrage of miniature suicide drones from its hive launchers, precisely eliminating any remaining targets attempting to escape. The entire battle, or rather, firefighting operation, lasted no more than 5 minutes. When the smoke cleared, not a single member of the Desert Wolves remained standing on the battlefield. Prince Inoklas stood atop a rise in the camp, surveying the devastation before him. Listening to the thunderous cheers of his soldiers, and a surge of unprecedented ambition welled up within him. The throne belongs to the virtuous. I have always upheld virtue. This is widely acknowledged. Taking a deep breath, he picked up the satellite phone and dialed Yi Bai's number. The moment the call connected, he could no longer contain his elation, shouting excitedly, "Yi God! The final payment. I will pay it immediately." Yi Bai, seated in the control room of the high-tech factory, nearly choked on his tea. So soon? He glanced at the time. It had barely been 24 hours since the first batch of firefighting products arrived. He had assumed Prince Inoklas would take several days to meticulously plan a proper firefighting exercise to test the equipment's true capabilities. Little did he expect the opportunity would present itself so fortuitously. The results of the firefighting operation evidently exceeded both the prince's expectations and Yi Bai's predictions. It seemed he had underestimated the terrifying power of these civilian technologies on a real battlefield. Less than 10 minutes after hanging up, Yi Bai received a notification from the International Bank regarding a deposit. "Dear customer, your account has been credited with $200,000,000,000 at XX time." Gazing at the dizzying string of zeros, Yi Bai let out a long sigh of relief. With the final payment of $2 billion, combined with the previous $1 billion deposit, the total amounted to $3 billion, equivalent to over 210 billion dragon coins. The receipt of this substantial sum meant a significant reduction in his family's $1 trillion debt. More importantly, he now holds a substantial sum of liquid capital at his disposal, over 20 billion in cash flow. Leaning back in his chair, Yi Bai gently tapped his fingers on the tabletop. The profits from Thunder electric vehicles were still forthcoming, and the profitability of the drone delivery network would require time. However, with this newfound wealth, I can finally unleash my ambitions and embark on a grand undertaking. Chapter 385. Long Yuan I type. Yi Bai's gaze shifted towards the most lucrative and technologically fortified blue ocean, the aviation manufacturing industry. The previous modification of the Little Eagle 500 was merely a preliminary experiment, a means to showcase his technological prowess and attract angel investors like Prince Inoklas. Now that the funds are secured, it is time to bring the true national treasure to the forefront. If we are to engage, let us do so on a grand scale. Instantly, Yi Bai's mind delved into the concept of a second-phase super laboratory. Coincidentally, the recent live broadcast had garnered substantial shock value, which would not be lacking in the short term. Thus, what he must do now is to completely revolutionize the industry. He aims to design and produce a large passenger aircraft that wholly belongs to the Dragon Kingdom, one that outperforms its predecessors while being cost-effective to an astonishing degree. With absolute technological superiority, he intends to carve a significant opening in the global civil aviation market, long dominated by Western giants such as Boeing and Airbus. Boeing and Airbus aircraft often cost upwards of hundreds of millions, with scarcely any revolutionary breakthroughs in technology over the decades. What justifies such exorbitant prices? It is merely because they monopolize the market, the technology, and the narrative. Today, I shall demonstrate to airlines worldwide what true value for money looks like. What embodies the future of aviation? With his objectives firmly established, Yi Bai wasted no time, immersing himself entirely in the design and development of the new aircraft. After clarifying his requirements, he commanded the system, initiate the autonomous development project for a new large passenger aircraft. Beep. detected a new large vehicle development project, scenario simulation underway. Scenario generation complete. Longyuan I-type, supersonic intelligent passenger aircraft. First and foremost, the core power and aerodynamic layout. Yibai discarded the antiquated design of underwing engine mounts, opting instead for 4 newly developed variable-cycle turbofan pulse detonation hybrid engines, seamlessly integrated into the wings and fuselage in a distributed manner. This engine not only maintains exceptional fuel efficiency during subsonic cruising, but can switch to pulse detonation mode when necessary, providing terrifying thrust capable of propelling this massive aircraft beyond the sound barrier. Core Module 1. 4 Shinbird variable cycle hybrid engines and integrated thrust system. Shock value consumption, 50 million points. Secondly, the core of passenger experience, inertial suppression and life support systems. The greatest challenge of supersonic flight is not speed, but rather the physical endurance of passengers. Severe acceleration, overload, and the shock of breaking the sound barrier can be fatal for untrained individuals. To address this issue, Yibai directly integrated a module derived from aerospace technology, a gravitational field stabilizer, into the aircraft's cabin. This device creates an independent, miniature stabilizing force field within the cabin. Regardless of how violently the aircraft maneuvers externally, passengers inside will always experience a steady standard of gravity. Additionally, the cabin seating employs magnetic levitation design, further counteracting minor vibrations during flight. This means that passengers can move about, dine, and enjoy their time on board as if they were on solid ground, without experiencing discomfort. Core Module 2. TIE Cabin Inertial Suppression System and Magnetic Levitation Seating. Shock value consumption, 60 million points. Thirdly, the materials used for the fuselage and safety. Safety is the fundamental tenet of all flight. Yibai utilized Dragon-scale adaptive composite armor material to construct the Longyuan I-type's integrated load-bearing fuselage. This material not only possesses a strength far exceeding traditional aerospace aluminum alloys, but is also lighter. Moreover, it exhibits a certain degree of self-repair capabilities, qualifying it as a form of memory metal. Simultaneously, the entire aircraft is equipped with the Jinwu AI flight management system, which assists pilots in operation and can promptly take control during extreme weather or emergencies, selecting the optimal emergency response. Core Module 3. Dragon-scale adaptive fuselage and Jinwu AI flight management system. Shock value consumption, 40 million points. Beep. Modular modification plan generated. This research and development consumed a total of 1.5 billion shock points. Confirm? Confirm. Yibai gazed at the staggering consumption of 1.5 billion shock points without a flicker of his eyelid. The shock points he had just acquired were instantly depleted, yet this investment is undeniably worth its weight in gold. He calculated silently that the fire drill on Prince Anakraz's side had only just begun. As the situation unfolds, an endless stream of shock points would inevitably follow. This expenditure will be recouped swiftly. Should he truly ascend to the throne, the shock points he would garner would be unfathomably vast. Upon his confirmation, a torrent of information far more extensive and intricate than any previous influx surged into his mind. From the aerodynamic contours of every surface to each blade within the engine. From complex flight control codes to the precise life support systems. Once every technical detail of the Longyuan I-type crystallized in his mind, Yibai immediately engaged the quantum computer to conduct a comprehensive cost analysis. Soon, a figure appeared on the screen that astonished even him. Without considering R&D costs, merely calculating the material, production, and assembly expenses, the manufacturing cost of a standard version of the Longyuan I-type supersonic passenger aircraft was surprisingly only about half that of comparable Boeing or Airbus flagship models. Indeed, monopoly is the greatest source of exorbitant profits. Yibai smirked at this outcome. Of course, this cost is still higher than the domestically produced C919. After all, both the supersonic cruising capability and the astonishing inertial suppression system far exceed those of typical subsonic passenger aircraft in terms of technological complexity and manufacturing costs. Nonetheless, its cost-effectiveness remains exceedingly impressive. As for why it is considerably cheaper than Boeing and Airbus, Yibai understood all too well. The internal machinations of these so-called aviation giants are rife with issues. The profit losses from layers of subcontracting, financial maneuvers to maintain stock prices, and various under-the-table political lobbying expenditures. All these costs ultimately inflate the price of the aircraft. Not to mention their long-standing technological embargoes and price discrimination against latecomer nations like the Dragon Kingdom, with exorbitant export premiums, have become well-known, unspoken rules. Given the low costs, I can explore various pricing strategies. With newfound confidence, Yi Bai immediately picked up his phone and dialed Jiang Chumo. Chapter 386. At a loss. Commander Nya, after all. Jiang Chumo is my partner. Such a significant opportunity. If possible, I would prefer to prioritize sharing it with her. The call was swiftly answered, and Jiang Chumo's voice, slightly fatigued yet still melodious, resonated from the other end. Hello, Boss Yi. What new directives do you have? I'm currently buried in the global delivery plan for Thunder electric vehicles, feeling quite overwhelmed. Yi Bai smiled, getting straight to the point. The aircraft matter is settled. The aircraft? Jiang Chumo paused, then quickly caught on. Oh, you mean your aviation project? What is the progress? It's not just progress, Yi Bai corrected. Everything has been entirely resolved. From the design blueprints to a comprehensive production plan, it is all set. Now, I ask you, or rather the Jiang family behind you, do you possess the capability to collaborate, to bring this project to fruition together? On the other end of the line, there was an immediate and profound silence. After a full 10 seconds, Jiang Chumo's astonished voice finally broke the stillness, her pitch elevated by 8 degrees. Wait, what did you just say? It's all done. So quickly? You can't be joking, can you? She could hardly believe her ears. This was a large passenger aircraft, the most radiant gem in the crown of modern industry. From project initiation to research and development, then to test flights and certification, how could any of it not require years, even decades, and investments in the hundreds of billions? Yet here we are. How long has it been since Yi Bai conceived this idea? Barely a month, if that? And it's all resolved? Is this person even human? I never joke about such matters, Yi Bai replied with a calm demeanor. Can your family collaborate? Impossible. This time, Jiang Chumo responded decisively, without a hint of hesitation. Yi Bai, this is not about manufacturing cars. The production of large passenger aircraft involves an extensive supply chain, a high technical threshold, and a complex array of qualifications and approvals. This is not something one or a few private enterprises can manage. Although our Jiang family has some influence in the automotive sector, we wouldn't even secure a ticket to enter the aviation manufacturing industry, let alone collaborate on production. We couldn't even establish a qualified factory. She paused before offering her suggestion. Currently, in the country, there is only one entity capable and qualified to undertake your project, the military. I recommend you directly contact the military and have them facilitate connections to integrate the nation's top aviation industrial resources, leveraging national strength to advance this project. This is the quickest and most reliable approach. Upon hearing Jiang Chumo's analysis, Yi Bai instantly comprehended. Indeed, he had underestimated the complexity of the situation. Large passenger aircraft transcend the realm of ordinary commercial projects. They are a strategic endeavor for the nation. To turn this vision into reality, reliance on national power is essential. I understand, Yi Bai nodded. Thank you, Chumo. What are you being so polite for? Jiang Chumo chuckled lightly. When your aircraft is completed, remember to reserve one for me. I want it in pink. With that, she hung up the phone. After much contemplation, Yi Bai ultimately dialed the encrypted number of Commander Nya from the Central Theater Command. The phone rang a few times before it was quickly answered, and Commander Nya's robust voice came through. Yi Bai? You rascal, the sun must have risen in the west for you to call me. There was a teasing tone in Commander Nya's voice. Speak up, what's the matter? Did someone steal your table again? Yi Bai chuckled, cleared his throat, and got straight to the point. Commander, this time it's not for anything else. I've developed an aircraft. Developed an aircraft? Commander Nya on the other end was clearly taken aback. An aircraft? What kind of aircraft are you messing with? Speak plainly, don't be glib with me. I'm busy. However, in the next moment, it seemed he had realized something, thinking of the Eagle strike. His voice shot up in pitch. Wait, what did you say? You developed what kind of aircraft? Yi Bai pondered for a moment and replied, a supersonic passenger aircraft. I've roughly calculated that if we consider the prices from our domestic supply chain, its manufacturing cost would be approximately half that of comparable Boeing aircraft. Of course, this is after excluding their various hidden costs and export premiums, purely the material and manufacturing costs. It's slightly more expensive than our own C919, but it is supersonic and has greater capacity. On the other end of the line, there was an immediate, profound silence. Yi Bai could even hear Commander Nya's suddenly heavy breaths. After a lengthy pause, Commander Nya's voice emerged, as if he were suppressing an immense emotional response. Each word squeezed out with effort. Yi Bai, let me confirm this once more. Are you saying you've created a civilian aircraft that costs half as much as Boeing and is faster than most fighter jets? Yes, Commander, Yi Bai affirmed. Where are you right now? Immediately. Right now? Come to me. Commander Nya commanded without room for debate. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he quickly changed his mind. No, don't move. Stay put and don't go anywhere. I will send someone to pick you up. Remember, do not leave your location. If you get into any trouble on the way, I cannot bear that responsibility. Beep beep beep. Before Yi Bai could say anything further, the call was decisively disconnected. Yi Bai stood there with his phone, utterly astonished. That's it. Not even a single technical parameter was inquired about, nor did he ask to see a presentation. Just like that, he forgot that from Spicy Fish Head to the Sky Demon, and then to the outrageous Dragon King platform and Thunder Prison battle car. Every endeavor he undertook had brought the military profound and transformative shock. The phrase, "What Yi Bai produces must be of the highest quality," had long since formed an unbreakable consensus among the military's upper echelons. His name itself was the most reliable guarantee of credibility. However, what transpired next far exceeded Yi Bai's imagination. Merely 10 minutes later, a series of deep, synchronized engine roars echoed from afar, reverberating throughout the entirety of the high-tech factory. Yi Bai approached the window, and upon witnessing the scene outside, even one who had seen countless grand spectacles could not suppress a gasp of astonishment. The entire street outside the factory had been completely sealed off. A convoy of 7 or 8 military vehicles formed an impenetrable wall at the entrance, blocking all access. In the center of the convoy stood a black, heavily built special armored vehicle, clearly designed for the highest level of protection. Surrounding the armored vehicle were 4 or 5 military jeeps, from which emerged special forces clad in tactical gear, armed with the latest assault rifles, fully equipped for action. They moved with swiftness, their gazes sharp as eagles, swiftly establishing a three-dimensional perimeter defense around the factory. On the outskirts of the convoy, there were 2 or 3 military trucks, filled with armed conventional soldiers. Most astonishingly, at both the front and rear of the convoy, stood a 99A main battle tank, its turret slowly rotating as it vigilantly scanned the surroundings. Above, 2 armed helicopters circled at low altitude, their massive rotors whipping up gusts of wind, the roar deafening. A tri-service, all-encompassing defense was in place. Yi Bai was utterly stunned. He had witnessed grand spectacles before, even personally orchestrated numerous impressive scenes. Yet today, he found himself at the center of such an extraordinary display for the first time. This spectacle was simply outrageous. While he was still in shock, the door of the armored vehicle opened, and a young officer in a crisp major's uniform, standing tall, swiftly approached the factory entrance. He saluted respectfully. "Report. From the Central Theater Command, the Valiant Army, the Guard Division, acting on Commander Nie's orders, has come to welcome Major Yi Bai. Please give your instructions." Faced with this exaggerated display that could only be likened to a state-level reception, Yi Bai, after a brief moment of astonishment, quickly regained his composure. He straightened his attire, opened the factory door, and returned the salute to the young major. "Thank you for your hard work, comrade." "Not at all. It's all for the country, for the people, serving the people." The voice of the major resonated with authority. Yi Bai refrained from further conversation, following the major into the heavily armored special vehicle. The convoy gradually set off, cruising at an accelerated pace under a series of green lights and the watchful eyes of security, reaching the command center of the Central Theater Command in record time. As Yi Bai disembarked, he noticed Commander Nie, who had been anxiously awaiting at the entrance, visibly relieved. The seasoned general, who had dedicated his life to military service, exhaled deeply and placed a firm hand on Yi Bai's shoulder. "You've arrived safely. That's what matters." Yi Bai observed the commander's expression of relief, momentarily taken aback. "Commander, is it really necessary to be so anxious? I didn't see you this perturbed when I was there to modify tanks and helicopters." Commander Nie shot him an exasperated glance. "It's entirely different. Tanks and helicopters are tactical assets. What you've brought forth is a strategic national treasure." He grasped Yi Bai's arm firmly, guiding him into the command center while adopting an unprecedentedly serious tone. "Yi Bai, you may not yet fully grasp the implications of that supersonic passenger aircraft you've developed for our country," he continued. "Do you realize that if we can indeed popularize the supersonic aircraft, the travel time from the capital to New City, which originally takes over 10 hours, could be reduced to just 5 or 6. A round trip from Magic City to Europe could be completed in a single day. This would utterly transform the global landscape of commerce, trade, and cultural exchange. Our dragon country would truly become the epicenter of the global transportation network." More significantly, he added, "This technology is not merely for civilian use. The supersonic long-range delivery capability is crucial for our military's rapid global response and strategic deployment, holding a significance akin to that of an aircraft carrier. Do you understand?" Hearing Commander Nie's fervent words stirred a tempest within Yi Bai. Initially focused on building aircraft to disrupt monopolies, earn profits, and repay debts, He had not anticipated the profound national strategic implications hidden within this technology. It seemed serendipitous, a contribution to the global reach of Dragon Country. While these thoughts surged through his mind, the two men entered a heavily guarded large conference room. Upon entering, Yi Bai was momentarily taken aback. Seated within were a dozen elderly gentlemen, their hair white but their spirits remarkably vigorous. Each donned a simple Zhongshan suit, exuding an air of elegance, yet their gazes were sharp and keen. Behind each of them stood a vigilant personal guard, their demeanor calm and unwavering. Yi Bai had only witnessed such high-level security on television. Noticing Yi Bai's astonishment, Commander Nia promptly introduced him. Yi Bai, allow me to present these esteemed individuals. They are the luminaries of our Dragon Country's aerospace sector, national treasures from the Dragon Academy. He pointed to one of the elders. This is old Qian Xianghua, the chief designer of our domestically produced C-919 aircraft. He then gestured towards another. This is old Li Xingbang, who oversees aircraft engine research. With each introduction, Yi Bai felt increasingly awestruck. These were names he had only encountered in textbooks and news articles. They were the backbone of Dragon Country's aviation industry. Yi Bai dared not display any casualness, immediately composing himself and bowing deeply to the esteemed elders. Old Qian, Old Li, and all respected seniors, greetings. I am Yi Bai. Honored to meet you. His respect was genuine and heartfelt. Ha ha ha, splendid. Old Qian Xianghua, leading the group, stood and approached Yi Bai, scrutinizing him with a look of admiration. Talents emerge in every generation. Comrade Yi Bai, we have heard tales of your achievements. He continued, from firefighting equipment to military tools, every endeavor you undertake leaves us the lifelong researchers in awe. Indeed, old Li Xingbang chimed in. Young man, possessing your talent and capability is a tremendous fortune for our nation. In response to the elders' praises, Yi Bai humbly remarked, you honor me, esteemed seniors. What I have done is merely a small contribution towards our shared goal, strengthening Dragon Country and ensuring better lives for our people. Upon hearing this, the elderly experts exchanged glances of approval. Old Qian nodded appreciatively. What a noble sentiment for Dragon Country and its people. With such aspirations and your remarkable abilities, how could our aviation industry not soar? Indeed, with such a national asset, it is a blessing for Dragon Country and its citizens. Chapter 388, The Possibility of Global Armament. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, the atmosphere in the conference room shifted to one of gravity. All eyes converged on Yi Bai, as the most senior designer present. Old Qian was the first to speak, cutting straight to the point. Comrade Yi Bai, let us dispense with the formalities. We have gathered today to hear from you directly about the supersonic passenger aircraft you have developed. What is its essence? Yes, Old Li, responsible for the engines, chimed in, his eyes brimming with anticipation. Commander Nye stated that your aircraft costs only half that of Boeing's and yet flies faster than a fighter jet. To be frank, we initially found those claims hard to believe. Under the scrutiny of these esteemed experts, Yi Bai felt no trepidation. He stepped forward confidently and declared, esteemed seniors, I have named the aircraft I designed the Longyuan I. First, let us compare its core performance with the current mainstream Boeing 787 or Airbus A350 at equivalent passenger capacity. The cruising speed of the Boeing 787 is approximately 0.85 Mach, while the Longyuan I boasts a conventional cruising speed of 2 Mach, over double that of its counterpart. This means that on trans-Pacific routes, we can reduce travel time from 12 hours to under 5. In terms of range, the Longyuan I can achieve a maximum range of 18,000 kilometers when fully loaded, allowing for non-stop flights from any city in our Dragon Country to any major city on Earth. In terms of safety, the Longyuan I employs a revolutionary Dragon-scale adaptive composite armor, with structural integrity exceeding that of traditional aviation aluminum alloy by more than threefold. And it possesses a degree of self-repair capability. Coupled with the Jinwu Full Authority AI flight management system, it can predict and avoid over 99% of flight risks. It is no exaggeration to say that its safety factor is more than 10 times that of current commercial aircraft. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, is the passenger experience. Our innovative TAI cabin inertia suppression system ensures that passengers feel neither excessive weight nor weightlessness throughout supersonic flight. Once activated, the cabin's gravitational environment remains constant at 1 g, indistinguishable from that on the ground. A profound silence enveloped the room as Yi Bai unveiled a series of explosive data points. Each person present was among the nation's most elite aviation experts. They understood better than anyone that each parameter he presented could trigger a seismic shift in the industry. Now, these groundbreaking technologies were all integrated into a single aircraft. Is this truly feasible? After a lengthy pause, Oldley finally voiced the question that lingered in everyone's mind. This is no longer merely advanced. This is science fiction. It was a vision of future technology that even those who had devoted their lives to aviation had never dared to dream of. Yi Bai observed the astonished and skeptical gazes of those around him, opting not to elaborate further. After all, the truth is the most compelling evidence. He retrieved an unremarkable USB drive from his pocket, one he had meticulously prepared beforehand. Esteemed seniors, all the design blueprints, technical parameters, wind tunnel simulation data, and material analysis reports are contained within this device. He handed the USB drive to Commander Nya, who accepted it solemnly and nodded at the nearby guards. Immediately, a specialized technician brought forth a military-grade laptop, secured with the highest level of encryption. As the USB was inserted into the computer, the vast and overwhelming data files began to be decrypted layer by layer, causing all the esteemed academicians present to rise from their seats. They swiftly gathered around the small laptop, creating an impenetrable circle around it. Elder Qian and Elder Li squeezed to the front, nearly pressing their faces against the screen. Their expressions shifted from cautiousness to confusion, then to astonishment, ultimately transforming into sheer disbelief. My heavens, this aerodynamic layout can truly maintain stability at 22 Mach. Unbelievable. This variable cycle engine design completely resolves the fuel consumption and thrust conflict under hypersonic flight, an issue we have struggled with for decades. And this inertial suppression field, goodness. Isn't this a concept that exists only in theoretical physics? He actually managed to create this? Is this truly achievable with current technology? The two venerable experts, seasoned veterans in the aviation field, trembled with excitement as they gazed at the information on the screen, their eyes moist, as if witnessing a miracle. However, science does not encompass miracles. Observing the ecstatic reactions of these national treasures, Commander Nya was equally taken aback. Indeed, the military's understanding of Yi Bai's innovations had scarcely reached 1%. At that moment, Elder Qian and Elder Li, who had been intently focused on the screen, exchanged a grave glance, recognizing an unprecedented seriousness in each other's eyes. This matter is far too significant, Elder Qian exclaimed, raising his head sharply, his voice slightly hoarse from excitement. It has exceeded not only our Dragon Science Institute, but even the scope of independent decision-making by the military. We must report this to the nation immediately. Elder Li nodded vigorously in agreement. Indeed, this is not merely an aircraft. It is a national scepter capable of altering the world's balance. Its strategic significance rivals that of the previous sword plan. We must inform the leaders with the utmost urgency and highest specifications. The words of the two elders left Yi Bai and Commander Nya in astonishment. Both were stunned, especially Commander Nya, who felt a jolt of shock. He had thought he had adequately gauged the aircraft's potential impact, yet it appeared he had been overly naive. For these two stalwarts, accustomed to the tempests of the field, to speak of strategic significance surpassing the sword plan indicated that the Dragon Abyss harbored an unimaginable force. Of course, their assessments were entirely valid. After all, it was a national treasure capable of deploying globally within 5 hours. Just imagine. The future PLA could appear anywhere in the world within 5 hours. What a terrifying prospect. Moreover, it was not a singular unit, but an entire regiment. Without a moment's hesitation, Elder Qian strode to the corner of the conference room, where a red, secure phone awaited, picked up the receiver, and solemnly dialed a number. The entire room fell into an intense silence, with everyone holding their breath in anticipation of the final verdict from above. Moments later, Elder Qian slowly set down the phone. He turned to Commander Nya, then to Yi Bai, as the hearts of all present raced in their chests. Commander Nya, the leaders have issued directives. Regarding the Dragon Abyss project, the higher authorities have decided that you, as the Central Theater Command, will take full responsibility for the security and confidentiality protocols during the project's advancement. The military committee will contact you directly for further details. Upon hearing this, Commander Nya felt a chill run down his spine, instantly straightening his posture and responding loudly, "Understood. We will ensure the mission is accomplished." Subsequently, Elder Qian's gaze shifted to Yi Bai, his tone softening considerably. Our Dragon Science Institute will mobilize the nation's top aerospace research talents to form a specialized technical team, fully cooperating with the subsequent research and production of the Dragon Abyss project, providing all necessary technical support. He paused before delivering the most crucial decision. Furthermore, we will establish a brand new, independently operated aviation company. This company will be jointly owned by our Dragon Science Institute, state-owned assets, and you, Major Yi Bai. The Dragon Science Institute and the central government will hold a combined 49 share, while you, Major Yi Bai, will hold 51 personally. Boom. Upon the revelation of this equity distribution plan, a thunderous shock resonated in Yi Bai's mind. He was utterly astounded. Holding a 51 stake personally? In a project of national significance akin to the 2 bombs and 1 satellite, the state was willing to grant him controlling interest. How could this be possible? Did the nation truly trust him so completely? Simultaneously, an unprecedented shockwave surged through his heart. The Central Theater Command would handle security, the Dragon Science Institute would provide technology, and the central government would inject capital. Observing Yi Bai's expression of disbelief, Elder Qian chuckled warmly and stepped forward, patting him on the shoulder. What is the matter? Are you taken aback? Comrade Yi Bai, do not bear any psychological burdens. This equity distribution plan has been thoroughly deliberated by the highest levels and unanimously decided upon. For the nation, the strategic significance of the Dragon Abyss aircraft far outweighs its potential commercial profits. What we need is for it to be manufactured swiftly and soar into the sky, and you are the sole core and soul of this project. He looked deeply into Yi Bai's eyes and said earnestly, granting you controlling interest is not only an absolute acknowledgement of your personal capabilities by the state, but also a profound trust in your character and loyalty. We believe you will not betray this trust. So, go forth and act boldly. The nation is your strongest support. Hearing these words, the turbulent waves within Yi Bai began to calm. He took a deep breath and bowed deeply to Elder Qian and all the esteemed seniors present. Rest assured, esteemed seniors and leaders, Yi Bai will not fail in his mission. Excellent. Elder Qian nodded with satisfaction before steering the discussion back to technical matters. Comrade Yi Bai, our most pressing concern now is, given your current technology and conditions, how long will it take to develop the Dragon Abyss passenger aircraft from blueprints to prototype for its first test flight? And if mass production is to follow, what will the production cycle entail? This question raised the tension in the room, and all eyes turned to Yi Bai. He pondered for a moment, rapidly calculating in his mind. If all production processes are completed within my advanced technology factory, I estimate that I could manufacture a small prototype for technical validation within a month. A month? The room erupted in gasps of astonishment at this answer. A month? Designing a prototype for a supersonic passenger aircraft? This is not merely swift, it is astonishingly rapid. It is worth noting that when they were developing the C919, the assembly of the first prototype alone took a whole year. Observing the astonished expressions of those around him, Yi Bai continued, however, this will necessitate the utilization of certain special strategic resources that are currently under strict national control. These are not insurmountable issues. As soon as Yi Bai finished speaking, Elder Qian immediately waved his hand decisively and stated, what materials do you require? Please provide a list. Afterwards, we will submit a request to the higher authorities with utmost priority to allocate all the resources you need. You need not concern yourself with anything. Just focus on building your aircraft. With that assurance, Yi Bai nodded in agreement. Receiving such a positive response, Elder Qian, Elderly, and the other experts could no longer contain their excitement. They promptly instructed the technical staff to make a complete backup of all the data from the USB drive. Comrade Yi Bai, we must take this information back to the Lonka Institute immediately to organize a team for digestion and analysis, Elder Qian said, carefully securing the backed-up hard drive. Regarding the materials list and subsequent technical coordination, a dedicated person will soon visit your factory to discuss matters with you. The remaining concern is the security upgrade for your factory, which Commander Nia will elaborate on. After concluding their discussion, Elder Qian, Elderly, and the others could no longer engage in pleasantries. They nodded hurriedly to Yi Bai and Commander Nia before swiftly departing the conference room with the information that could alter the global landscape. Once the hurried experts from the Lonka Institute had left, only Yi Bai and Commander Nia remained in the expansive conference room. However, the atmosphere did not lighten. In fact, Commander Nia's expression grew even more serious. Yi Bai, now we must discuss your security issues. From this moment forth, both you and your high-tech factory will have your security level elevated to the highest grade. This is a direct order from the highest authorities. Commander Nia picked up a document from the table and handed it to Yi Bai. This is the preliminary security plan drafted by our Central Theater Command. Please review it. Yi Bai took the document and, after a brief glance, could not suppress his astonishment. The first item in the plan highlighted the gravity of the situation. Commander Nia, this states that a regiment of troops will be stationed near my high-tech factory? Chapter 390. After stepping out, my home has become a military restricted zone? Indeed. Commander Nia affirmed with a nod. A fully equipped mechanized infantry regiment armed with the latest weaponry. They will establish a permanent military exclusion zone with a radius of 3 kilometers around your factory. No unauthorized personnel or vehicles are permitted to approach. Yi Bai felt a dryness in his throat. A regiment that amounted to thousands of soldiers. All this just to protect one factory? This was an extravagant measure, to say the least. Continuing to read, his eyelids twitched again upon reaching the second item. In addition to the stationed troops, we will also dispatch a special operations team composed of elite members from the Snow Wolf Special Forces, tasked with your personal security around the clock. Wherever you go, they will be discreetly protecting you. The Snow Wolf Special Forces. They are the most elite unit in the Central Theater Command. Every member is a master of combat. They are being assigned as my bodyguards? But that is not all. Commander Nie's voice rang out again. From now on, at least 3 military reconnaissance satellites will monitor your high-tech factory and its surrounding areas continuously. Any movement, even the flight of a bird, will not escape our scrutiny. A regiment stationed, elite soldiers providing close protection, military satellites monitoring round the clock. Yi Bai was utterly astounded by this impenetrable security plan. Commander Nie, this seems excessively exaggerated. I am merely a researcher. Do I truly require such stringent security measures? Moreover, we are in the capital. There is no place safer than here, is there? Exaggerated? Commander Nie huffed, fixing Yi Bai with an unprecedentedly serious gaze. Yi Bai, let me emphasize once more. Your value to the nation far exceeds your own imagination. You are now the most precious strategic asset of our Dragon Nation, more important than an aircraft carrier. Your safety cannot afford even the slightest lapse. He continued. Do not mention stationing a regiment. If necessary, we will even construct a military base outside your factory. Nothing is too great a sacrifice. Observing the genuine gravity etched on Commander Nie's face, Yi Bai finally comprehended that he could no longer roam freely as he once did. After discussing security matters, Commander Nie personally arranged for personnel to escort Yi Bai back to the high-tech factory. This time, the escort was even more impressive than before. Apart from the heavily protected special armored vehicle, the convoy included an additional company of troops. When the convoy arrived at the high-tech factory, Yi Bai was once again taken aback by the scene before him. In just a few hours since his departure, the surroundings of the factory had transformed dramatically. Military trucks, armored personnel carriers, and engineering vehicles had completely encircled the area. Countless soldiers were busily and methodically constructing temporary barracks, digging defensive works, and installing radar and surveillance equipment. A standardized field army camp was rising at an astonishing pace. Every 3 steps there was a guard, and every 5 steps a sentry, with armed soldiers vigilantly patrolling every corner. The outer perimeter of the factory had been cordoned off with high security fencing, displaying conspicuous red signs reading, Military Restricted Zone. No entry. Gazing at this level of security that surpassed even a military camp, Yi Bai stood at the factory entrance, speechless, accompanied by the guards. He entered the doors of the high-tech factory. Looking back, he saw the escorting company engaging in handover procedures with the soldiers already stationed for defense. Commands were verified, documents exchanged, and zones delineated. Every process was executed with meticulous precision. Yet Yi Bai felt his eyelids twitching once more. This was simply absurd. Major Yi, please follow me. A tall, stern-faced guard interrupted his thoughts. Yi Bai nodded and followed the guard through newly established security doors requiring both iris and fingerprint verification. Feeling a sense of confusion arise within him, he scanned his surroundings. Apart from the visible soldiers on duty, he saw no sign of the Snow Wolf Special Operations Team that Commander Nie had mentioned. Comrade, Yi Bai couldn't help but inquire. What about the Snow Wolf Special Operations Team? The guard immediately halted, standing at attention, and reported to Yi Bai. Reporting to you, sir. The Snow Wolf Special Operations Team is our shadow guard. They operate discreetly to eliminate any potential threats and will not appear in plain sight. They will blend in like ghosts, hidden in every corner around you, ready to respond to any emergencies, and at the most critical moments. They will spare no effort to ensure your absolute safety. However, in the absence of an emergency, they will not interfere with your daily activities. Upon hearing this explanation, Yi Bai nodded in understanding and refrained from further questioning. This was true top-tier security. The bright sentinels serve as deterrents. Yet it is the concealed snow wolves lurking in the shadows that stand as his final and most formidable shield of security. Under the guidance of the guards, Yi Bai made his way to his office situated on the top floor of the factory. Upon pushing open the door, he found the office layout unchanged. Yet subtle modifications left him momentarily taken aback. On his originally spacious desk, a quaint, brilliantly red landline telephone had appeared. What is this? Yi Bai inquired, pointing at the crimson device, a hint of confusion in his voice. Reporting, sir. The guard responded sharply. To ensure absolute communication security. All internal communication devices within the factory have been replaced with military-grade encrypted lines. This telephone is your exclusive high-security communication line, enabling direct contact with the highest command level. As the guard spoke, he retrieved a black mobile phone from his pocket, resembling an old-fashioned model, yet surprisingly weighty, and handed it to Yi Bai with both hands. Furthermore, to prevent information leaks, no personal, unencrypted electronic devices are permitted within the factory premises. This phone has been specifically provided for your external communications. It operates on an independent military communication channel, equipped with the highest levels of eavesdropping prevention and anti-tracking capabilities. Yi Bai took the hefty phone, glancing once more at the landline capable of connecting him directly to the heavens, and couldn't help but marvel at the military's comprehensive takeover of communications, alongside the prohibition of personal electronic devices. Chapter 391. The call from Elder Long as Yi Bai was still processing the formidable security measures akin to a net woven from heaven and earth. The guard retrieved a document encased in a brown paper bag, sealed with a bright red wax stamp, from his briefcase and presented it to him. Sir, this is the official document regarding the establishment of the new company, requiring your personal review and signature. Yi Bai accepted the document and tore open the seal, revealing a shareholding contract. The title of the contract boldly proclaimed the name of the company, Longyuan Aerospace Group. He swiftly perused its contents, discovering that this newly established Longyuan Group boasted an organizational structure of staggering magnitude and an unparalleled integration of resources, far exceeding his imagination. According to the contract's annex, this group is directly under the supreme management of the central government. Its subordinate units encompass nearly the entire core of the Dragon Nation's aviation industry. From the major assembly units like Shifei and Chengfei to the engine development overseen by the Aviation Engine Group, and extending to various electronic technology research institutes providing precision instruments. All elite entities related to aircraft manufacturing have been consolidated under this vast conglomerate, operating in unison. Its partners are widespread across the nation. Whether it be Baosteel supplying special steel or the Lonka Institute of Materials responsible for new material development. All enterprises and research institutions capable of supporting the Longyuan project will open the highest priority green channels for it. This is no mere company. It is manifestly an unprecedented industrial behemoth, tailored with the full strength of the nation for the Longyuan passenger aircraft. The pivotal clause of the contract, as Elder Qian had previously indicated, stipulates that Yi Bai will hold 51% of the shares in this group, being appointed as its inaugural chairman and chief executive officer. Endowed with ultimate decision-making authority over the group's strategic development and technological research. With a mere signature, he would instantaneously become the helmsman of this colossal aviation empire. This is simply outrageous. Yi Bai, gazing at the illustrious names of the units listed in the contract, was profoundly astonished by the government's formidable execution and the boundless financial investment. Sir, the guard's voice broke through his reverie, directing his attention to another attachment in the contract. To allow you to focus on core technology development, a highly professional management team has been appointed to oversee the group's daily operations. Yi Bai turned to that page, where a list of names and their profiles was meticulously detailed. Chief Operating Officer, COO Wang Jiangwo, former Deputy General Manager of the National Commercial Aircraft Corporation. With 30 years of experience in managing large state-owned enterprises, responsible for daily operations, production coordination, and supply chain management. Chief Financial Officer, CFO Li Hui. Former Deputy Governor of the National Development Bank, a top financial expert responsible for the group's financial operations, cost control, and financing matters. Chief Legal Officer, CLO Zhang Ming. Former Senior Advisor to the Supreme Court, proficient in domestic and international commercial law, responsible for handling all legal affairs and external cooperation negotiations for the group. Staring at this roster of high-caliber executives, akin to a national team, left Yi Bai speechless. This was not merely a few executives being assigned to him. It was as if a complete, elite leadership team capable of managing a trillion-dollar enterprise had been packaged and delivered to him. As chairman, aside from overseeing technical standards, it seemed he had little else to do. Additionally, the guard added, a dedicated secretary has also been appointed to manage all your daily work arrangements and external communications. She is waiting outside your office. Yi Bai lifted his gaze, peering through the glass wall of his office to see a young woman clad in a professional suit, exuding competence and grace, standing quietly outside, nodding slightly in acknowledgement. With the state holding shares, military protection in place, expert assistance, and an entire executive team, down to even a secretary, Arranged for him. Yi Bai inhaled deeply amidst the overwhelming shock and picked up the pen. Without a moment's hesitation, he inscribed his name at the bottom of the contract. All right, he said, handing the signed contract back to the guard. The guard carefully examined the document for accuracy before resealing it in the file bag and saluting Yi Bai as he turned to leave. Once again, the expansive office was left with Yi Bai alone. He sank into the spacious executive chair, momentarily lost in a daze. Everything had unfolded too swiftly and intensely. He couldn't shake the feeling that he might be dreaming. Pulling out the military phone, he hesitated, contemplating whether to call Commander Nye or Elder Qian for further clarification on the situation. The magnitude of it all was simply too staggering. He felt utterly bewildered. However, just as he wrestled with his indecision, the red landline on his desk suddenly rang with a clear, crisp sound. Yi Bai paused, instinctively reaching out. Hello. May I ask? Before he could finish his sentence, an aged voice resonated from the other end. Comrade Yi Bai, it is I, Boom. At the instant he recognized the voice, Yi Bai felt as though he had been struck by a thunderbolt. His mind blanked out entirely. Elder Long. It was indeed Elder Long himself calling. The individual perched at the pinnacle of the Dragon Nation's power hierarchy. One of the 7 figures he could only see on the evening news had personally reached out to him. Yi Bai's heart raced uncontrollably, and he instinctively stood from his chair, his hand gripping the receiver, trembling with excitement. Elder Long, how is it that you are personally calling me? He stammered, entirely devoid of his usual composure. He could hardly fathom that this red landline truly connected him to the highest echelons. Haha, came Elder Long's characteristic warm chuckle from the other end. What is this? Are you not welcoming this old man's call? No, of course not. Yi Bai hurriedly replied. I am just utterly astonished, completely taken aback. All right, sit down and let us converse. Elder Long's voice possessed a calming strength. You have seen the arrangements made, I presume? Indeed, Yi Bai respectfully responded. Very well. Elder Long paused for a moment, then spoke slowly. Originally, according to our initial plan, we intended to wait until you had fully developed the Chungying Mecha before gradually elevating your security level. After all, your previous projects, while significant, remained within a controllable scope and did not attract excessive attention from foreign powers. However, the situation has changed. Elder Long's tone grew serious. The emergence of the Longyuan passenger aircraft has introduced a considerable variable. Although we can strive to contain the information, ultimately, paper cannot conceal fire. International intelligence agencies will inevitably catch wind of it. Once they learn that we are developing a strategically significant piece of equipment capable of altering the global landscape. With you at its core, the dangers you will face will be unprecedented. Therefore, to ensure your absolute safety, we must sacrifice a portion of your personal freedom to a certain extent. I hope you can understand. Upon hearing Elder Long personally explain all this, Yi Bai felt an indescribable excitement surge within him. He straightened his posture and spoke into the microphone. Elder Long, you flatter me. None of this is of concern. Contributing to the nation and its people is my greatest honor. I completely understand and will resolutely comply with all arrangements made by the organization. Haha, good. This young lad shows commendable resolve. Elder Long's hearty laughter echoed from the other end of the line, clearly pleased with Yi Bai's response. All right, I merely wanted to communicate this to you. For the specifics regarding the establishment of the group, you should communicate with the person we send over. If any insurmountable problems arise, or if you need coordination at the national level, you can contact me directly using this phone at any time. I have an important meeting to attend, so I'll end the call here. Once Elder Long hung up, Yi Bai stood there, momentarily stunned, before slowly sitting down. After calming his tumultuous emotions, he pressed a button on his desk for internal communication. Please come in. The office door was gently pushed open, and a young woman, who had been waiting outside for some time, entered. She approached the desk, slightly bowed, and said with poise, Chairman, hello. Yi Bai looked up, carefully scrutinizing this new secretary before him. She appeared to be around 25 or 26 years old, with a neat short haircut, dressed in a well-tailored dark professional suit. Her face adorned with subtle makeup, exuding an air of composure and competence that belied her age. Compared to Sun Ling, who had stumbled into the role of secretary, this woman appeared far more professional. Please introduce yourself, Yi Bai said. Yes, sir, the woman nodded. My name is Qin Shu, 25 years old. I graduated from Longwei University of Political Science and Law and subsequently worked in the Ministry of State Security for 3 years, primarily responsible for intelligence analysis and handling confidential documents. From today onwards, I will serve as your dedicated secretary, managing all your daily work arrangements, meeting coordination, and external communications. Upon hearing her credentials, Yi Bai was once again taken aback. 25. The Ministry of State Security? He couldn't help but marvel internally. At such a young age, she must have only recently passed the national exams, yet she was entrusted with such significant responsibilities. Directly appointed to serve as secretary on a project that was deemed one of the nation's highest secrets. Truly, heroes abound, and among them, this young woman named Qin Shu shone the brightest. Very well, Secretary Qin. Yi Bai reined in his surprise and nodded, directly issuing his first command. Please arrange a video conference immediately, bringing all the executives of Longyuan Group into the meeting. I have an important announcement to make. Understood, Chairman. Without hesitation, Qin Shu nodded and turned to leave the office. Moments later, she returned with a sleek, entirely black tablet devoid of any branding. Yi Bai glanced at the tablet in her hands, a flicker of surprise crossing his eyes. He had never encountered such a model before, particularly one so thick, which was uncommon in recent times. Seemingly sensing his confusion, Qin Shu explained, Chairman, this is an encrypted communication terminal specifically designed for our confidential unit. Equipped with the highest level of anti-eavesdropping and anti-hacking capabilities. Yi Bai nodded in acknowledgement, refraining from further inquiries. Qin Shu skillfully operated the tablet, swiftly establishing an encrypted video conference room. The screen illuminated with several split-screen images, revealing newly appointed executives such as Wang Zhengwo, Li Hui, and Zhang Ming. Upon seeing Yi Bai's remarkably youthful face on the main screen, even these seasoned elites, accustomed to navigating turbulent waters, could not suppress their astonishment. However, they quickly regained their composure. After all, reaching this level of responsibility had long ceased to be about appearances, and they would certainly not allow Yi Bai's age to elicit any disrespectful reactions. Chairman Yi, hello. The executives on the screen stood and bowed respectfully to Yi Bai. He nodded in return, skipping pleasantries and getting straight to the point. Everyone, time is of the essence, so I will be brief. I need to produce a Longyuan I prototype for technical validation within a month. Therefore, we have two urgent matters that require immediate attention. First, the procurement of materials. Secretary Qin will distribute a detailed materials list to each of you shortly. General Wang, General Li, I need you to utilize all available resources to coordinate with suppliers and expedite the delivery of all raw materials and components listed to my Black Technology Factory. Remember, I require the highest priority, regardless of cost. Second, the preparation of the production line. General Wang, while you are coordinating the materials, I need you to immediately begin integrating the production lines of Shifei and Qingfei, upgrading them according to the technical plans I will provide. I want to ensure that once the prototype successfully takes flight in a month, our mass production plan can be seamlessly initiated. As for other matters, there are no issues for now. Please proceed with your tasks. Upon hearing his directives, the executives immediately sensed the young chairman's decisive and efficient approach. Without any dissent, they all replied in unison, yes. Chairman, as the video conference concluded, Yi Bai leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. Everything was in place. Now he just needed to quietly await the arrival of the finest industrial materials from across the nation to converge here. In a month, a steel dragon capable of astonishing the world would rise from this very place. The first roar of the Longyuan dragon must resonate throughout the entire globe. In the following month, Yi Bai entered a state of near seclusion, immersing himself entirely in the creation of the Longyuan I prototype. With the full force of the national machinery at work, top-tier strategic materials from all over the country were continuously delivered to the Black Technology Factory. Time flew by. A month later, as the final rivet was perfectly embedded into the fuselage and the cockpit cover of the Longyuan I slowly closed with a crisp mechanical locking sound. Yi Bai let out a long sigh of relief. It's done. Standing before the colossal machine that stood majestically in the center of the factory, his heart swelled with pride. This was truly his first aircraft in every sense. Purely self-manufactured, with zero modifications. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately grasped the crimson landline phone on the table and dialed the exclusive line of the esteemed Qian Xianghua from the Lonka Institute. Old Qian, the aircraft has been completed. On the other end of the line, Qian, who was presiding over a high-level technical seminar, abruptly stood up upon hearing these words, his teacup shattering on the floor. What? It's completed? Although a month was previously mentioned, the reality of its completion in merely a month was still astonishing. Too swift. After hanging up with Qian, Yi Bai promptly dialed Commander Nye's number. Commander Nye, the item is ready. Half an hour later, several military helicopters descended almost simultaneously on the temporary helipad outside the cutting-edge technology factory. Commander Nye, accompanied by numerous leaders from the Central Theater Command, hurriedly arrived alongside the esteemed Qian, Li, and other experts from the Lonka Institute, as well as several core executives from Longyuan Group, including Wang Zhengwo. As this influential group, capable of shaking the entire Long nation at a mere stomp of their feet, swiftly entered the factory. Their eyes were immediately drawn to the Longyuan I prototype standing majestically before them, leaving everyone profoundly and utterly astonished. It was a shock that defied verbal description. The aircraft's fuselage exhibited a streamlined design, entirely enveloped in dark golden dragon-scale composite armor, reflecting a dazzling sheen under the factory lights. Absent were the bulky bodies and underwing pods typical of conventional passenger planes. The Forschenbird hybrid engines seamlessly integrated into the junction of the wings and fuselage, rendering the entire structure as one cohesive entity. The slightly downward tilted nose resembled the keen beak of a raptor, while the expansive yet unburdensome swept-back wings bore a striking resemblance to the mythical Kunping's wings spread wide, as if poised to soar into the heavens at any moment. Is this Longyuan? Wang Zhengwo, a veteran in the aviation industry, gazed at the colossal machine before him, his voice trembling. Though he had perused countless design blueprints as the COO of the group, witnessing this future warplane materialize before his eyes still rendered him breathless with its visual impact. It is absolutely breathtaking. Old Qian adjusted his glasses, his eyes filled with admiration. This is nothing short of divine craftsmanship. Commander Nie's response was decidedly direct. He immediately issued an order. Bring it. Arrange for transportation. Get the aircraft to the nearest Air Force base. I want to witness its ascent. With Commander Nie's command, the nation's premier special transport convoy, which had been on standby outside the factory, gradually entered, under the careful operation of numerous soldiers and engineers. This slumbering steel dragon was securely fastened onto a massive flatbed truck. Subsequently, escorted by dozens of armored vehicles, it set forth towards the Air Force base several dozen kilometers away. Commander Nie, Old Qian Yibai, and a host of executives and experts followed closely behind in several helicopters. Excitement filled their hearts. The moment to witness history was at hand, and they would be its sole witnesses. At the Air Force Base, one of the most crucial and highly classified military installations in Long Nation, the Longyuan I prototype was gradually towed onto an ultra-long runway capable of accommodating strategic bombers, entering a state of heightened alert. The runway had been cleared of all unrelated personnel. Only Commander Nie, Old Qian, Yibai, and a few core experts and executives stood atop the control tower, nervously gazing through the expansive floor-to-ceiling windows at the poised steel behemoth below. Comrade Yibai, Commander Nie turned to the composed Yibai. Do we need to conduct another technical briefing for the pilots? Yibai shook his head with a serene smile. No need, Commander. All theoretical data regarding Longyuan has been thoroughly presented. Further discussion would be redundant. Practice is the sole criterion for testing truth. Let us commence the test directly. Good. A glimmer of approval flashed in Commander Nie's eyes as he admired Yibai's decisive confidence. He seized the intercom and issued the command. Longyuan 01. This is the control tower. The two test pilots are in position. You may begin the final pre-flight checks. Longyuan 01 acknowledged. Inside the cockpit, two of the nation's most elite test pilots, selected from the Air Force, were already seated in the futuristic magnetic levitation seats. They gazed in awe at the minimalist control interface before them. This aircraft has such features? With the assistance of the Jinwu AI flight management system, a series of intricate pre-flight check procedures were completed within a mere minute. Report to the control tower. All systems of Longyuan 01 are normal, requesting takeoff. Takeoff approved. The command was issued. On the runway, the dark golden dragon seemed to awaken from slumber. Absent was the thunderous roar typical of conventional passenger jet engines. Instead, a deep, powerful hum resonated. The Forschenbird hybrid engines began to gradually infuse energy. Buzz. In the next moment, accompanied by a piercing wail that tore through the air, a tremendous thrust erupted instantaneously. Before the astonished gaze of those in the control tower, Longyuan I executed virtually no long-distance taxiing. It glided less than 500 meters down the runway before ascending at an extremely steep angle, akin to an arrow shot toward the sky. My heavens! That takeoff distance! That climb angle! Is this truly a passenger aircraft? Within the control tower, an Air Force officer tasked with recording data, gazing at the nearly vertical ascent curve on the radar screen, couldn't help but exclaim a curse. Wang Zhengwo, COO of Longyuan Group, was so astonished that his jaw nearly dropped. He had dedicated his life to aviation and had never witnessed such a wild, unreasonable method of takeoff. This was not a civil aviation aircraft. It was undeniably a heavy fighter jet. Chapter 394, Jinwu AI, ushering in an era of zero aviation disasters. In mere seconds, The aircraft effortlessly breached the 10,000-meter mark, entering the stratosphere. Control Tower, Longyuan 01 has reached the designated altitude, requesting to conduct supersonic cruise tests. Approved. Received. The Xianbird engines switched to pulse detonation mode. In the cockpit, the test pilots pressed the button representing ultimate speed. Boom. A force far more ferocious than before erupted from within the aircraft. The rear of the plane expelled 4 dazzling, azure plasma trails. On the control tower's radar screen, the numbers representing Longyuan's speed began to surge upward in a heart-stopping manner. 12 Mach, 15 Mach, 18 Mach, 20 Mach, surpassing 2 Mach. My God, it's still accelerating. 22 Mach, achieved theoretical cruising speed. Wait, the speed is still climbing. 23 Mach, 24 Mach. Finally, when the speed stabilized at 25 Mach, gasps filled the control tower. Old Qian and Old Li, revered figures in the field, trembled with excitement, gripping the railing before them tightly, their eyes brimming with fervor. The actual performance surpasses the theoretical performance. This is nothing short of a miracle in aviation history. It is well known that any aircraft's actual performance is, to some extent, diminished by various real-world factors compared to its theoretical peak. Yet, Yibai's Longyuan defied this trend. This transcends mere impressiveness. It utterly subverts the very laws of physics. At this moment, Wang Zhengwo, Li Hui, and several other senior executives of the group were utterly astonished by the miraculous scene before them, although they had previously learned about Yibai's remarkable achievements through various channels. It had merely been hearsay. It was only today, as they witnessed with their own eyes this future aircraft, born from Yibai's ingenuity and reminiscent of a science fiction film, soaring majestically through the skies, that they truly comprehended the extraordinary and formidable nature of their remarkably young chairman. The flawless success of the supersonic cruise test had already ignited a fervor among all present. However, Yibai understood that for a civil airliner, speed is always a secondary consideration, trailing behind safety. He picked up the intercom and issued the next test command to the test pilot in the cockpit. Longyuan 01. We shall now commence the AI takeover test under extreme conditions. Please disable all manual control systems and transfer complete control of the aircraft to the Jinwu AI. Received. The test pilot immediately complied. The Jinwu AI had assumed full control of the aircraft. At the moment, the cold, synthesized voice of the AI resonated. Commander Nya issued a command that caused everyone nearby to tense up. Initiate Level 1 Simulated Emergency. Simulate a bird strike on both left engines, resulting in immediate engine failure. The command was transmitted through the data link and swiftly reached the flight control system of Longyuan. This was a scenario potent enough to render any modern airliner uncontrollable, plunging it into a deadly spiral. Within the control tower, several senior executives of the Longyuan group felt their hearts leap to their throats as they fixated on the green that representing Longyuan on the screen. Suddenly, the aircraft's flight path lurched sharply to the left. The fuselage began to shake violently. It's happening. Everyone held their breath. Yet, this violent shaking lasted less than 2 seconds. The systems detected a significant failure in the left power system, with power output plummeting by 50%. The Jinwu AI was performing attitude corrections. The right engine's power was increased by 30%, and the vector nozzle angle adjusted by 37 degrees. The control surfaces of the wings were subjected to asymmetrical deflections. A series of breathtaking countermeasures were calculated and executed by the Jinwu AI in mere milliseconds. On the screen, the tilted green dot almost instantaneously regained stability. It was as if the potentially catastrophic emergency had merely been a trivial air bump. My heavens, it stabilized that quickly. Wang Zhengwo gasped, mumbling in disbelief. The response speed and computational capacity have entirely surpassed the limits of human pilots. Qian Lao exclaimed with excitement. With this AI system, the safety level of civil airliners will be elevated to an unprecedented height. Aviation disasters may soon become a relic of the past. However, the test difficulty continued to escalate. Initiate Level 2 Simulated Emergency. Commander Nya's voice resonated once more. Simulate a complete hydraulic system failure. All aerodynamic control surfaces are locked. This was an even more perilous predicament than an engine failure. It meant the aircraft would utterly lose control, descending from 10,000 meters like a hunk of iron. Yet again, the Jinwu AI's response shattered everyone's expectations. Upon detecting the hydraulic system failure and loss of control surface authority, it activated a backup plan. Switching to the Xianbird engine's vector thrust control mode. High above, the 4 engine nozzles on either side of Longyuan began to tilt at meticulously calculated angles. It was astonishing to see the aircraft controlling its pitch, roll, and yaw solely by adjusting the thrust direction and magnitude of the four engines. The aircraft traced smooth and graceful arcs in the sky, with an accuracy and attitude control that even surpassed traditional control surfaces. "This is impossible," an Air Force flight control expert cried out, witnessing the extraordinary display. "Using vector thrust in lieu of control surfaces for flight control? This is a supermaneuverability technique that is only attempted in the most advanced fifth-generation fighter jets, and it has been achieved in a commercial airliner." Inside the control tower, there was an eerie silence. Everyone was utterly astounded by the Jinwu AI's remarkable performance. As Long Yuan landed smoothly on the runway, the final and most rigorous test commenced. Collision testing. A specially designed unmanned target aircraft, laden with sensors, sped across the runway, trailing several simulated bird bodies filled with high-density gel. "Initiate the bird strike test." With the command, several simulated bird bodies were instantly released, hurtling toward the most vulnerable parts of Long Yuan, the leading edge of the wings, the cockpit windshield, and the engine air intakes, like cannonballs. Bang, bang, bang. A series of thunderous impacts reverberated throughout the airport. The aviation experts present felt their hearts clench. They understood all too well the terrifying power of such high-speed collisions, capable of tearing through traditional aluminum alloy fuselages like bullets. However, as the dust settled and the observers used high-powered telescopes to assess the impact points, they were again rendered speechless. The cockpit windshield, incredibly resilient, showed not a single crack, nor even a faint scratch. The leading edge of the wing, directly hit, bore only a trivial, shallow dent. Remarkably, within the span of mere seconds, that dent began to visibly self-repair, returning to a smooth surface. As for the engine air intake, at the moment of impact, a blue arc of electricity flashed, and the simulated bird body was vaporized before it could even touch the engine blades. What on earth is this cutting-edge technology? Does the engine possess a protective force field? Li Lao exclaimed, his voice trembling with excitement. The strength of the fuselage. Commander Nye gasped at the sight before him, murmuring in disbelief. This must have surpassed most of our active fighter jets, hasn't it? My heavens. Is this really not a scene from a science fiction film? This is nothing short of a miracle in the history of human aviation. Inside the control tower, the senior executives of the Long Yuan Group were now entirely unconcerned about maintaining their composure. They were overjoyed, flailing their arms in excitement, their eyes shimmering with disbelief and elation. This is absurd. This is utterly absurd. With Long Yuan, what do we have to fear from Boeing or Airbus? They are nothing. Li Hui's eyes sparkled as if she could already envision the flood of incoming orders. Chairman, with Long Yuan, the global aviation landscape will be irrevocably transformed within this year. What Boeing, what Airbus, let them face bankruptcy this year. Let them understand what it truly means to be struck from a lower dimension. Everyone was immersed in immense joy and shock, as if they could already visualize a grand tableau of the soaring aviation industry of Longhua. Commander Nye observed the excitement of the crowd, a genuine smile gracing his face. Yet, as a military man, his thoughts quickly shifted to a strategic level. Yibai? If this Long Yuan were to be modified into a military transport aircraft, he paused, murmuring to himself, with this range, this flight speed, this payload capacity, if we could equip such transport aircraft, wouldn't our strategic delivery capability and global rapid response capability be unprecedented? Commander Nye could not continue, for he dared not imagine the implications. It would conjure a terrifying vision capable of utterly altering the global military landscape, though it was anticipated. Witnessing the effects of the Long Yuan test truly left him in a state of disbelief. Such a life, even the most affluent landowner would scarcely dare to envision. However, as Commander Nye was lost in boundless reveries about future military power, Yibai suddenly paused. Utilizing Long Yuan for transport aircraft? He scratched his head, casting a puzzled glance at Commander Nye. Is that really necessary? Upon hearing this, Commander Nye was momentarily taken aback, then furrowed his brow, looking at Yibai with confusion. Why isn't it necessary? With the extraordinary performance of this aircraft, wouldn't slight modifications yield the finest strategic transport plane? Yibai shook his head, responding calmly. The design philosophy of Long Yuan is that of a supersonic passenger aircraft, emphasizing speed and comfort. If we were to convert it into a transport aircraft, we would need to completely optimize the aerodynamic layout, reinforce the structure, increase the payload, and consider the takeoff and landing capabilities at field airports. Such extensive modifications would be better served by designing a dedicated transport aircraft from scratch. Design a dedicated transport aircraft from scratch? Commander Nye, along with Elder Qian and Elder Li, collectively gasped upon hearing Yibai's words. They stared at Yi Bai's nonchalant expression, momentarily at a loss for words. How could he speak so casually about such a monumental task? The notion of designing a new transport aircraft seemed utterly fantastical to others, yet from his lips, it sounded as simple as grocery shopping. Elder Qian could not help but inquire, "Comrade Yi Bai, when did you conceive this idea? Why didn't you mention it sooner?" Yi Bai shrugged innocently. "You never asked." Commander Nya, regaining his composure, wore a bemused expression, yet his eyes sparkled with uncontrollable joy. All right. Not asking was our oversight. Yi Bai, can you truly design a specialized supersonic strategic transport aircraft? Of course, Yi Bai affirmed with a nod. However, this project may need to be postponed for a while, he added. The mass production and delivery of Longyuan, along with subsequent tasks, will require a significant amount of my energy. Therefore, the transport aircraft project may need to be placed on the back burner. Commander Nya, understanding immediately, waved his hand dismissively. No problem. Absolutely none. Longyuan is of paramount importance. Focus on it first. We can discuss the transport aircraft once you're ready. He turned to Elder Qian. Elder Qian, how does this sound? We allow Comrade Yi Bai to initiate the mass production of Longyuan, and once he completes that, we can commence the transport aircraft project? Elder Qian nodded eagerly, exclaiming, "Of course, that sounds perfect. Comrade Yi Bai, feel free to proceed. Our Long Science Institute is always here to provide you with all technical support." Yi Bai nodded, addressing Commander Nya. "In that case, could you prepare a few older transport aircraft for me? I'd like to examine them to understand the structures and characteristics of the current operational transport planes. It might inspire me." "Absolutely. I'll arrange it right away," Commander Nya responded excitedly, as they watched the Longyuan prototype being cautiously towed back to the hangar. Yi Bai suddenly recalled a crucial question. He turned to Commander Nya and inquired, "Commander Nya, do we need to maintain confidentiality regarding this Longyuan prototype and the forthcoming mass production models?" Commander Nya paused for a moment, then burst into laughter. "Confidentiality? What confidentiality?" He waved his hand, a sly smile on his face. "Do not forget, this Longyuan has been developed as a civilian supersonic passenger aircraft since its inception. While the core technology must remain highly confidential, the aircraft itself, as a product slated for commercial operation, does not require secrecy. As for confidentiality, that is a matter for your Longyuan Group's business strategy. Whether to promote it boldly or showcase it discreetly is entirely your decision. However, regarding exports, a unified national planning and approval process is still necessary. Domestic airlines, however, may procure freely as long as they comply with relevant regulations, without any restrictions." Hearing Commander Nya's words, Yi Bai felt a wave of relief wash over him. He had previously worried that Longyuan's extraordinary performance would lead the government to classify it as a top-secret project, which would disrupt his subsequent plans. It now appeared that the government had a clear understanding of Longyuan's positioning, ensuring the security of core technologies while simultaneously maximizing its commercial value to break the Western monopoly. This was undoubtedly the optimal outcome. Yi Bai contemplated the situation regarding Prince Anaklis, who had remained silent since paying the final installment. He had hoped the prince would swiftly ascend to kingship and astound the world, thereby providing him with a continuous stream of shock value. For now, it seemed he would have to rely on the advancement of the Longyuan project to accumulate that value. The emergence of Longyuan undeniably proclaimed the rise of Long's aviation industry, and the shock value contained within was certainly astronomical. "All right, Commander Nya, Elder Qian, and esteemed seniors." Yi Bai nodded at everyone, then turned to the executives of Longyuan Group. "Since the testing has concluded, let us return to the factory and convene a meeting with all senior executives. There is much work ahead of us." Wang Zhengwo, Li Hui, and others looked at Yi Bai with not just admiration, but fervent adoration. They had witnessed the birth of Longyuan and its astonishing performance capable of revolutionizing the era. They believed that under the guidance of this genius, Longyuan Group would undoubtedly become the new titan of the global aviation industry. The group boarded the helicopter again, flying towards the high-tech factory. Meanwhile, on the other side of the globe, the major aviation giants and intelligence agencies of the Western world remained entrenched in their preconceived notions about Long's aviation industry. Completely unaware of the impending aviation storm that would sweep across the globe, they did not know that a true steel dragon had quietly awakened, poised to rewrite the history of aviation worldwide. Upon returning to the high-tech factory, Yi Bai wasted no time and immediately gathered all core executives of the Longyuan Group for the inaugural strategic meeting in the top-level conference room. At the start of the meeting, Yi Bai shared all the test data of the Longyuan prototype with everyone present, as those astonishing performance parameters, far exceeding theoretical values, were laid bare before them. Even those who had witnessed the test flight felt waves of exhilaration. Ladies and gentlemen, Yi Bai's voice broke the silence of the conference room. The prototype has successfully completed its test flight, and you have all seen its performance. Now, I need to know the status of our mass production plan. Wang Zhengwo, the COO, promptly stood up, opening a well-prepared PowerPoint presentation, and succinctly report to the chairman. Based on the technical plan you provided earlier, we have successfully integrated the production lines of Xi'an Aircraft Industrial Group, Chengdu Aircraft Industry Group, and dozens of top domestic suppliers. Currently, the first Longyuan final assembly production line has completed initial debugging and is ready for operation. He paused for effect, providing a figure that astonished even Yi Bai. Assuming the supply chain remains stable, we preliminarily estimate that this production line can achieve an annual output of 50 aircraft. If we continue to invest and expand production capacity, we can increase annual output to over 150 aircraft within 3 years. This figure rivaled the annual production of flagship models from established aviation giants like Boeing and Airbus. Yi Bai nodded in satisfaction. Very well. And what about our partners? He turned to Zhang Ming, who was responsible for legal affairs and external communications. How are our negotiations with the major domestic airlines progressing? Zhang Ming, upon hearing this, displayed a faint smile of resignation, standing up to respond. Chairman, we have yet to engage in formal discussions with any airline. Oh, Yi Bai raised an eyebrow. Zhang Ming quickly elaborated. The primary reason is that, until the prototype has successfully completed its test flight, we possess no tangible product to showcase. Engaging them with mere words about a supersonic passenger aircraft would likely fail to earn their trust. Therefore, our plan has been to wait until the prototype's test flight is successful before approaching them with data to discuss individually. Yi Bai, upon hearing this, nodded in understanding but remained unconcerned. He waved his hand and stated in an authoritative tone, discussing with them one by one? That is far too slow. Now that our Longyuan has made its grand debut, we need not seek them out. What we must do is entice them to come to us. Let us host a press conference ourselves. At this proclamation, all the executives present were momentarily taken aback. Wang Zhengwo hesitantly asked, Chairman, are you suggesting we publicly announce Longyuan's existence to the entire world? Precisely, Yi Bai affirmed with a nod. Not only must we announce it, but we must do so with great fanfare. I will personally host this press conference. He commanded, without turning around, Secretary Qin, I need you to arrange this immediately. In 3 days, I want to hold an unprecedented global live-streamed product launch in the capital. Understood, Chairman. Secretary Qin promptly replied. As the meeting concluded, the entire Longyuan Group set into motion at an astonishing pace. That afternoon, a website for Longyuan Aerospace Group quietly went live. The homepage featured only a large, mysterious silhouette of a massive aircraft shrouded in black cloth, accompanied by a prominent bilingual countdown. Witness the future in 3 days. Simultaneously, Longyuan Group's official accounts released this announcement across various major social media platforms. Yi Bai took a more direct approach. He logged into his dormant Douyin account, which boasted tens of millions of followers, and posted a succinct live-stream teaser. In 3 days, at 8 o'clock in the evening, I'll show you a big surprise. This announcement sent shockwaves through the online community. The long-silent Yi Shun was back with a formidable reveal. The internet erupted in excitement. Countless eager netizens and fans, who had been waiting in anticipation, were suddenly ablaze with enthusiasm. Oh my, he is back. The influencer I follow has finally updated. Yi Shun, my idol, you're finally back. I thought you were taken by the government to build aircraft carriers. A big surprise? How big? The last aircraft was already massive. Could it be a Star Destroyer this time? The previous predictions were too small. I bet this time Yi Shun is diving into something significant in aerospace. After all, he transformed the Little Eagle 500 into the Eagle Strike I last time. This must be something like a flying saucer. Chapter 397. Speculations across the internet online. Various speculations emerged in abundance. Meanwhile, some astute onlookers noticed a stunning detail. Yi Bai's long-standing Douyin following list had quietly added a new entity, Longyuan Aerospace Group. The first 2 entries were Yunxiao Technology and Baitenwang Group. This revelation sparked immense curiosity. Netizens traced the clues, clicking into this unfamiliar official account, where they immediately encountered the mysterious aircraft silhouette and the same countdown pointing to 3 days ahead. Longyuan Group? What kind of company is this? I've never heard of it before. Wait, Yi Shun mentioned significant developments in 3 days, and this company did too. Could there be a connection? Aerospace Group? Could it be that Yi Shun is indeed venturing into aircraft again? In no time, The entire internet began fervently discussing the relationship between Yi Bai and this enigmatic Longyuan group. Driven by curiosity, numerous resourceful netizens delved into the new company's background through various channels. When they uncovered Longyuan Aerospace Group's astonishing equity structure and registration information through official corporate information platforms, the internet fell into a profound silence. Shareholder information: Dragon National Academy of Sciences, 20 stake; Central Huijin Investment Company, Limited, 29 stake; Yi Bai, 51 stake. Registered capital: 10 billion Dragon coins. Funding source: special allocations from the central government. As this screenshot circulated online, everyone who saw it felt as if their minds had been struck with a sledgehammer. What the hell did I just see? The central government and the Dragon Academy combined hold 49, and Yixun alone holds 51. This is madness. This world has gone completely insane. In a national-level company backed by the central government and the Dragon Academy, one individual can hold a controlling stake. How is this possible? 10 billion. Directly funded by the central government. My heavens. Yixun's background isn't just extraordinary, it's practically divine. I previously thought Yixun was merely favored by the military and became a significant figure within the system. Now it seems I was too naive. This isn't just integration. He is clearly on a direct express train to the highest echelons. At this moment, everyone was utterly stunned by the overwhelming power revealed by the equity structure. Unbeknownst to them, Yi Bai had truly become a core figure capable of influencing national strategy. And the grand revelation he was to unveil in 3 days was undoubtedly no ordinary cutting-edge technology. It would certainly be a national treasure capable of reshaping the global landscape. With the exposure of Longyuan Group's equity structure, discussions online surged to unprecedented levels of fervor. Terms like Yi Bai's background, Longyuan Group, and new member of the national team rapidly ascended to the top of trending search lists, igniting nationwide discussions. Countless individuals marveled at Yi Bai's extraordinary background and the absolute trust the nation placed in him. Yi Bai himself became the focal point of this media frenzy. Amid this whirlwind of public opinion, Yi Bai received 2 phone calls. The first was from Jiang Chimo. On the other end, her voice carried a teasing tone. "Bossy, your confidentiality efforts are truly commendable. What a revelation. I initially thought you were merely working on a remarkable aircraft. But you've gone ahead and established a controlling state-level aerospace group." Yi Bai chuckled in response. "What can I say? It's state secrets. I can't just share everything." All right. I know you're impressive," Jiang Chimo replied with a playful huff. "But every time you create such a stir, I feel like I should switch careers to selling vegetables. Don't even think about it. You are now the world's leading electric vehicle queen. We can't do without you," Yi Bai reassured with a smile. "By the way, will you be free for the launch event in 3 days? Come and show your support." Even if I'm busy. I'll crawl over to see this press conference," Jiang Chimo playfully retorted. "I want to see what earth-shattering surprise you have in store this time." After hanging up with Jiang Chimo, Yi Bai received another call from Secretary De Kang. This is an old acquaintance of Yi Bai. On the other end of the line, Secretary De Kang's voice was filled with astonishment. "You rascal, you truly have hidden your talents well. I had suspected you were no ordinary person, but I never anticipated you would soar to such heights so swiftly." Although Secretary De Kang held a significant position, he was still astounded by Yi Bai's ability to directly control a space aerospace group co-owned by the central government and the Lonka Institute. This achievement transcended mere talent. It symbolized the highest level of recognition and trust in Yi Bai's capabilities. "You're overly flattering me," Yi Bai humbly replied. "You still dare to be modest with me." Secretary De Kang chided with a laugh. "But truly, what have you concocted that has garnered such national support? My curiosity is piqued." Despite his intrigue, Secretary De Kang refrained from directly asking for specifics due to confidentiality protocols. However, Yi Bai took the initiative to speak. "Secretary De Kang, do you have time for the press conference in 3 days? I would like to invite you to witness it in person." "Me?" Secretary De Kang was somewhat taken aback and then hesitated. Given his current rank, while he was indeed a notable figure, he felt he might not be qualified to attend such a significant national event, especially one that attracted the highest levels of attention. He had heard that 3 military district commanders would be present to support Yi Bai: Commander Peng of the Southern Theater, who was a former superior of Yi Bai, Commander Nye of the Central Theater, and Commander Lei of the Eastern Theater, all reportedly attending in person, not to mention esteemed figures from the Lonka Institute, along with several high-ranking officials dispatched by the central government. The lineup was nothing short of a small-scale state affair. "Yi Bai, am I of sufficient rank to attend?" With 3 military district commanders and those distinguished seniors from the Lonka Institute present, wouldn't my attendance be somewhat Secretary De Kang's tone carried a hint of concern. Yi Bai discerned his worry and chuckled. Secretary De Kang, you underestimate yourself. Just come and enjoy. All right. Since you've put it that way, I shall muster the courage to attend. Secretary De Kang's demeanor lightened, and he laughed heartily. 3 days slipped by in an instant. The highly anticipated product launch of the Longyuan Group finally commenced at the National Convention Center in the capital. Half an hour before the event, Yi Bai punctually shared the official livestream link on his Douyin account. Here it comes. Yi Shun is going live. Brothers, charge in. Front row seats. I've got sunflower seeds, peanuts, and bottled water ready, just waiting for Yi Shun's performance. In an instant, tens of thousands of netizens surged into the official livestream room like a tidal wave. At this moment, the event had yet to formally begin, and the livestream camera was focused on the guest seating area. When viewers caught sight of the esteemed guests in attendance, the barrage of comments in the livestream abruptly ceased. What the heck? What the heck? Who did I just see? That person in the front row, in the center, with 3 gold stars on his shoulder. Isn't that Commander Nye from the Central Theater? Not just him. Next to him is Commander Peng from the Southern Theater, and Commander Lei from the Eastern Theater. My goodness. The top commanders from the 3 theaters are all personally present. Is there going to be a war? Look, the elderly gentleman sitting next to Commander Nye, the one with glasses, is Professor Qian Xianghua, the chief designer of our Dragon project and the domestically produced C-919 aircraft. Next to Professor Qian is Academician Wang Hong, the head of the electromagnetic cannon project. I've seen him on the news before. And that one, the chief designer from the Northern Military Factory, Academician Li Weigua, plus Li Baohua, the disciple of Professor Qian, the chief designer of the Dragon passenger aircraft project. The giants in materials science, academicians Yang Xiaomin and Zhang Ming, are here too. It's as if half of the military and research elite of Longhua has gathered here. Everyone in the live stream was utterly awestruck by the impressive lineup of guests, which could only be described as celestial beings in a contest. This was far from a mere commercial launch. Meanwhile, Secretary De Kang, just arriving at the venue, was equally taken aback by the spectacle before him. He gazed at the legendary names seated in the front row and then down at the ticket in his hand, which also bore a front row seat number, feeling his legs weaken. Could he really be seated in the front row? In such a setting, not only would it be a tremendous honor to sit in the last row, but even that was considered a grand privilege. When had Yi Bai become this remarkable? On the other side, elegantly dressed Jiang Chumo observed the gathering of luminaries with a complex array of emotions in her beautiful eyes. She understood that Yi Bai was capable, but she had never fathomed he could reach such heights. The fact that commanders from the 3 military theaters supported him and that national treasures like academicians rallied behind him was beyond her imagination. As time passed, more heavyweight guests continued to arrive. Chairpersons from the 3 major domestic airlines, bank presidents, and business magnates from various sectors. The entire venue sparkled with brilliance. A gathering of the elite. Everyone understood that today, something monumental and historical was about to unfold here. The world held its breath in anticipation. While the atmosphere was charged with awe due to the terrifying lineup of guests, Jiang Chumo quietly slipped backstage. She wished to see Yi Bai once more before the conference began. Thanks to Yi Bai's prior arrangements, she smoothly reached his exclusive lounge. Upon opening the door, she found Yi Bai impeccably dressed in a tailored black suit, standing before a mirror adjusting his tie. Wow, Yi the boss, looking dapper, preparing to charm countless young ladies? Jiang Chumo leaned against the doorframe, playfully teasing him with a charming smile. Yi Bai noticed her in the mirror and smiled back. Just as a staff member knocked on the door again, an elderly gentleman with graying hair, wearing gold-rimmed glasses and exuding an air of refinement, entered with the staff member. Director Yi, Professor Lu Qingchuan from Tsinghua University has arrived. Upon hearing this, Yi Bai immediately turned around with a welcoming smile. However, the next scene left Jiang Chumo utterly stunned. The esteemed Professor Lu Qingchuan, a titan in the field of optics, upon seeing Yi Bai, bowed deeply without hesitation and respectfully addressed him. Teacher. The word teacher struck like a bolt from the blue. What had she just heard? Professor Lu Qingchuan called Yi Bai teacher? Jiang Chumo's mind went blank. She stared at the dignified elderly gentleman. Recognizing him, yet unable to recall where she had encountered him before, Yi Bai was evidently taken aback by Professor Lu's unexpected gesture as well. He quickly stepped forward to assist the professor, his expression a mixture of bemusement and laughter. Professor Lu, what are you doing? I've said it before. That matter is in the past. I was young and foolish back then, just joking around and making a bet. How could you take it seriously? Professor Lu Qingchuan stubbornly shook his head, asserting, Teacher, how could that possibly be a joke? In front of such a large audience, having acknowledged you as my teacher, I cannot retract my words. He gazed at Yi Bai, his eyes filled with sincerity as he continued. Moreover, knowledge knows no age. The truly learned are our teachers. Your expertise and insights in the realm of optics far surpass my own. This title of teacher is rightfully yours. Upon hearing the mention of optics, Jiang Chumo suddenly recalled the significance. Her gaze towards Yi Bai had completely transformed. What other undisclosed, astonishing identities and achievements does this man possess? Seeing Lu Qingchuan's unwavering stance, Yi Bai found himself at a loss for words. With a resigned gesture, he pointed to the mobile phone on the shelf beside him, which was brightly lit and broadcasting the dialogue between himself and Professor Lu. That Professor Lu is currently live streaming, he said. Although their conversation was quiet, the phone had clearly captured every word. Oh my, did I hear that correctly? That old professor just referred to Yi Bai as teacher? Isn't that Professor Lu Qingchuan from the School of Optoelectronic Engineering at Qingbei University? An authority in the field of optics. I attended his online course last semester. He actually called Yi Bai teacher? This is insane. The world has gone completely mad. A national treasure of a professor addressing an 18 or 19-year-old as teacher? This hierarchy is utterly absurd. Knowledgeable ones are teachers. Absolutely correct. Yi Bai is remarkable. I finally understand why Yi Bai is so incredible. Even professors of this caliber are his students. He is practically a patriarch in this field. In the live stream, millions of viewers were once again astounded, their perceptions shattered by Yi Bai's unfathomable prowess. As the reverberations from Professor Lu Qingchuan's declaration of teacher ignited a whirlwind backstage, the press conference at the front had entered its final warm-up phase. Under the spotlight, Wang Zhengwo, COO of Longyuan Group, stood center stage delivering the opening remarks. Today, we gather here to witness the dawn of a new era, an age of aviation that belongs to our great nation. His words elicited thunderous applause from the audience. Now, let us extend the warmest welcome to Mr. Yi Bai, Chairman and CEO of Longyuan Aerospace Group, as he unveils this world-changing surprise. Accompanied by stirring music and thunderous clapping, the staff backstage hurriedly approached. Chairman, it's your turn to take the stage. Professor Lu, I must excuse myself for a moment. Yi Bai offered an apologetic smile to the still embarrassed Lu Qingchuan, as Yi Bai's figure appeared on the colossal screen at the center of the stage. The entire internet erupted in fervor. It truly is Yi Bai. It's really him. So handsome. My husband looks absolutely stunning in that suit today. It's confirmed. Yi Bai has indeed been drafted into the national team, making his debut in the spotlight. From this day forth, who would dare claim that our nation cannot produce exceptional aircraft? We have Yi Bai, facing thousands of esteemed guests and hundreds of thousands of viewers in the live stream. Yi Bai exhibited no trace of nervousness. Distinguished guests and friends watching on screen, greetings. I am Yi Bai. I know many of you are familiar with me, and perhaps even more are seeing me for the first time. Regardless of whether we are acquainted or not, today, I wish to reintroduce myself in a new capacity. You may be curious about what exactly our Longyuan Group does. It's simple. Our foundation is the nation, and our shareholders are the Lonka Institute and the central government. Therefore, our mission has always been singular. Yi Bai paused, his gaze sharpening like a blade, and his tone grew resolute. That is to eliminate Boeing, to obliterate Airbus. Note that I do not say overcome, but eliminate. Our goal is to see them bankrupt within this year. At these words, the audience gasped in shock, and the internet exploded. Oh my, Yi Bai has lost his mind. He actually plans to take down Boeing and Airbus. How bold. This is the Yi Bai I know. Silent until now, and then astonishingly vocal. Bankrupt them within the year. What audacity. What passion. I am truly ignited. Of course, there were dissenting voices emerging online. Anyone can boast. Boeing and Airbus have been around for a century. Do you think you can just take them down? Young man, you are still too naive. Indeed. Just a ploy for attention. Wait until he presents a product, and then we'll see the harshness of reality. Confronted with the murmurs of the crowd and the ongoing debates online, Yi Bai merely smiled indifferently, offering no further explanations. With a snap of his fingers, the enormous LED screen behind him illuminated, displaying a stunning aircraft render. The dark golden, streamlined fuselage, the seamlessly integrated Shinbird engine, and the sweeping wings reminiscent of a mythical bird in flight. When this image appeared, it felt as though the world had been muted. Wow, that's stunning. Its name is Longyuan Eye. Yi Bai's voice, resonating alongside that breathtaking image, reached every corner of the venue and every viewer worldwide. The Longyuan Eye is a supersonic smart passenger aircraft. Its standard cruising speed is Mach 25. This means that a journey from the imperial capital to New City requires only 5 hours, departing and returning the same day. One could even make it back in time for dinner. Its maximum range is 18,000 kilometers, allowing it to fly nonstop from any city in our nation to any corner of the Earth. The fuselage employs Dragon-scale adaptive composite armor, boasting a strength more than 3 times that of traditional aviation aluminum alloys. Coupled with the Jinwu AI flight management system, its safety rating exceeds that of current commercial aircraft by more than tenfold. Most importantly, it is equipped with the TIE cabin inertial suppression system. Regardless of how intense the aircraft's acceleration or maneuvering, passengers will always experience a smooth gravitational standard. An array of astonishing statistics flowed from Yi Bai's lips, transforming the initial shock in the venue into utter numbness. The live stream was eerily silent, as all were rendered speechless by this technology that surpassed their comprehension. As Yi Bai transitioned from performance details to discussing costs and pricing, the atmosphere of the press conference soared to its zenith. I know that what you are most concerned about is the price. Yi Bai smiled. Our Longyuan Group is a company with a sense of social responsibility. We do not manufacture aircraft for exorbitant profits, but to allow more people to enjoy the conveniences brought by technology. So today, let us become friends. He extended a finger, gesturing in the air. The latest price for Boeing's 787 is $24.8 billion. The Airbus A350 is priced even higher at $31.7 billion. Yet, our Longyuan I, with performance that far exceeds theirs, is priced domestically at. Yi Bai deliberately paused, building anticipation. Only 999 Dragon coins. Boom. At the revelation of this price, the audience erupted. Converted to USD, it was less than 1 billion. Performance vastly superior, yet priced at merely half of the competition. This was not merely making friends. It was a full-on table flip. Yi Bai gazed upon the fervent expressions of the crowd below and continued, as you can see, in the face of our Longyuan I model, our competitors remain entrenched in their antiquated technologies, basking in the pride of decades past, convinced they are invincible. Such behavior is akin to the folly of not eating meat while others starve. Thus, today, we shall demonstrate through tangible action that the times have indeed changed. From now on, the skies of civil aviation belong to us as much as to anyone else. The long-suppressed emotions in the live stream audience ignited in that moment. Our competitors are fools. Down with Airbus. Down with Boeing. We can go anywhere they can. Yi is incredible. 999 million. You can't go wrong with this. Please, just share the link. Countless comments flooded the screen like a tidal wave. Chapter 400. Who cannot craft a PPT aircraft? Who cannot create a PPT aircraft? The parameters are purely boastful, inflated to the heavens. Let's see how it performs when it actually flies, remarked a user from Europa. Indeed, it's just another instance of manipulating national sentiment through marketing tactics. Once they actually deliver, there will surely be various issues and downgrades. Domestic products are always lacking, commented another. Not to mention that inertial suppression system. It defies the laws of physics. It's clearly a ruse to deceive the naive, added a third. In the face of the rising tide of skepticism online, Yi Bai merely smiled calmly, unfazed by the dissent. When a revolutionary product emerges, doubts and disparagement are inevitable. Rather than waste breath in debate, it is far more prudent to let the facts silence the critics. He signaled to his staff to proceed to the Q&A session. Soon, a journalist from a central media outlet stood up. Hello, Mr. Yi. Earlier, you mentioned the concept of a smart aircraft. Could you elaborate on what smart specifically refers to? How does it differ from traditional notions of autopilot? This question struck a chord. Yi Bai nodded at the journalist and replied with a smile. Excellent question. What we refer to as smart transcends mere autopilot. It pertains to our Longyuan I, equipped with a fully autonomous AI flight management system called Jinwu. This system can instantaneously take control of the aircraft in any extreme situation, devising optimal responses that surpass human capabilities. To substantiate my claims, I believe a video may provide a clearer understanding. He snapped his fingers, and the large screen behind him began to play footage from recent extreme condition tests conducted at an Air Force base. From simultaneous engine failure to complete hydraulic system failure, the Longyuan, under the control of the Jinwu AI, repeatedly navigated perilous scenarios that would spell doom for any modern passenger aircraft, even showcasing maneuvers only possible for the most advanced fifth-generation fighter jets. The world fell into a profound silence. The internet was astounded. Wow, is this real? Can a passenger aircraft perform such maneuvers? With twin engines failing and hydraulic systems failing. Does this mean that all air disasters will cease to exist in the face of Longyuan? Oh my, this is true black technology. This is genuine artificial intelligence. With this, Flying will be safer than taking the high-speed train. Incredible. This is a true national treasure. I declare that from today onward. I shall only fly on domestically produced aircraft. At that moment, everyone was utterly captivated by the miraculous performance of the Jinwu AI. Who cannot edit a video? There must be someone in there. The pilot has likely rehearsed it countless times. It's disgusting to resort to such marketing for impressive data, scoffed one comment. Indeed. It's clearly fake. If it were truly that impressive, would they even need pilots? Those who believe such nonsense will remain forever naive. In the face of undeniable technological prowess, all disparagement felt like mere jest. No one paid them any heed. The attention of all was now riveted on the astonishing technological capabilities of the domestic aircraft. At this juncture, another journalist from a renowned international aviation magazine rose to speak. Mr. Yi, hello. Does the advent of the Longyuan I indicate that the Longyuan Group will subsequently focus on developing civil aviation aircraft? Or do you have broader strategic ambitions? This question, too, garnered significant interest. Yi Bai looked at the blonde-haired, blue-eyed journalist with a hint of amusement in his smile. Currently, the Longyuan I's performance has thoroughly outstripped the competition. In the short term, I believe we will find no worthy adversaries. Thus, our next focus will shift to the development of military transport aircraft and even strategic bombers. As for civil aviation, Yi Bai's tone shifted. Adopting the characteristic rhetoric of Western politicians, he shrugged and said, I must express my gratitude to America for their steadfastness in remaining stagnant while we advanced. Thus, we shall now wait for them. This proclamation elicited uproarious laughter throughout the room. How audacious. I love it. The tables have turned, my friends. We were once the ones chasing others. Now it's our turn to wait for them. Yi is extraordinary. His words are a masterclass in sarcasm. The impact is minimal, but the insult is profound. The executives at Boeing and Airbus must be fuming and smashing their televisions. As the Longyuan Group's press conference ignited a global frenzy online. On the other side of the planet in Seattle, America, within the headquarters of Boeing, the atmosphere was palpably tense. In the expansive conference room, all the company executives fixated intensely on the screen, where a remarkably youthful representative from the Dragon Kingdom spoke with confidence. When Yi Bai proclaimed that this year would see their bankruptcy, the room erupted in derisive laughter. However, as the futuristic design schematics of the Longyuan I and the miraculous AI testing footage appeared on screen, all laughter ceased abruptly. In its place arose a chilling silence, accompanied by expressions of disbelief akin to witnessing a ghost. This is impossible. The president of Boeing stood up abruptly, pointing at the screen in astonishment. 25 Mach cruising? Full autonomy AI takeover? An inertial suppression system? Is this a science fiction film? Sir, we have just confirmed the authenticity of this footage through special channels. The video has not been edited or enhanced in any way, reported a trembling technical supervisor. How can this be? Davis felt as though his heart was gripped by an invisible hand, nearly suffocating him. When did the Dragon Kingdom advance so far ahead in the aviation sector? Sir, what should we do now? Our stock prices have already begun to plummet. Davis gazed at Yi Bai's confident visage on the screen, feeling dizzy. He despondently sank back into his chair, hesitating for what felt like an eternity before finally summoning all his strength to wearily wave his hand. Let us convene an emergency meeting to discuss our strategy. A similar scene unfolded at the Airbus headquarters in Europe. Meanwhile, in the power center of America, within the White House. Chapter 401. What importance does gardening hold compared to the Dragon Kingdom? After finishing a round of golf, President Chuan Zhangwo leisurely sipped his cola while reviewing an urgent briefing handed to him by an aide regarding the Longyuan Group's press conference. As he glanced at the exaggerated performance parameters on the document, he disdainfully curled his lip. Oh, the Dragon Kingdom has adopted our methods? They've begun crafting PowerPoint presentations and touting their achievements? Intriguing. However, one of his aides stood beside him, wearing a look of deep concern. Mr. President, according to our intelligence department's preliminary analysis, the technology behind the Dragon Kingdom's newly announced Longyuan passenger aircraft is likely genuine. If that is the case, our nation's aviation supremacy will face unprecedented challenges. Upon hearing this, Chuan Zhangwo's expression abruptly shifted. He slammed his cola onto the table, pointed a finger at the aide, and bellowed, "Are you questioning my expertise? I assure you, no one understands the Dragon Kingdom better than I do, and no one knows aircraft better than I do. This is utterly impossible. They are merely bluffing, engaging in strategic deception. Do you understand?" With an expression of someone who had seen through it all, Chuan Zhangwo quickly changed the subject, turning to another aide. "By the way, how is the construction of my banquet hall progressing?" The aide hesitated, his face revealing a hint of difficulty, before cautiously replying, "Mr. President, it's not completed yet." "Not finished." Chuan Zhengwo furrowed his brow. "What is going on? Was the funding insufficient?" "The funding is adequate." The aide wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, his voice dwindling. "It's just that there was a small issue during procurement. For instance, one toilet cost $100,000. "What?" Chuan Zhengwo was momentarily stunned. He felt his blood pressure soaring. A toilet for $100,000. They may have embezzled military funds, but now they dare to siphon off my resources. His furious roar echoed throughout the White House. The Longyuan Group's press conference concluded successfully. After the event, Yi Bai declined all media interviews and invitations from prominent figures, returning directly to the high-tech factory. Once in his office, he eagerly opened the system panel. Upon seeing the pulsating numbers on the system, a profound sense of reassurance washed over him. Shock value, 203546,789, over 200 million in shock value. And it continues to grow with the fermentation of public opinion online. The impact of this Longyuan press conference far exceeded his expectations. Now his shock value was plentiful. Even if there were no immediate developments from the Camel side, he would not be lacking in shock value. Yi Bai then casually browsed through other projects within the system. Chongying Mecha Project Progress, 90, seeing this number. A glimmer of anticipation flickered in Yi Bai's eyes. The Chongying Mecha, the foundational unit of the Nanchaman plan, was just 10% away from complete fulfillment. At that moment, his phone rang. It was Commander Nye calling. "Yi Bai, the several old transport planes you requested are on their way. They are expected to arrive at your factory in about half an hour." Commander Nye's voice carried an unmistakable excitement. So soon? Yi Bai was somewhat surprised, and then smiled. "I'll go take a look." After hanging up, Yi Bai headed straight to the factory. 3 transport planes, their paint chipped and their bodies showing signs of age, had already been parked inside. When Yi Bai saw the models of these transport planes, a wave of nostalgia washed over him. And 12? This was the longest-serving and most numerous medium transport aircraft in the history of the Dragon Kingdom's Air Force, which had made significant contributions in its time. Most of them had already been retired and stored away, so he was astonished that Commander Nye had managed to procure a few for him. He immediately instructed the system to scan these in 12 transport planes. 12 transport aircraft, B-class technology product. B-class. As expected, Yi Bai mused. Given the era and performance of the N-12, it not exceeding B-class was in line with his expectations. System, enter the second phase laboratory. Ding. Second phase laboratory activated. Please select modification direction. Without any hesitation, Yi Bai clearly envisioned his concept for this future transport aircraft in his mind. Modification direction, supersonic strategic transport aircraft. Core requirements. First, it must possess supersonic cruising capability, achieving speeds of at least Mach 2. Second, the flight altitude must be significantly increased, reaching heights inaccessible to conventional ground attack missiles. Furthermore, stealth capabilities. Both radar and optical stealth must meet the world's most advanced standards. Finally, and most crucially, the payload capacity. While maintaining the aforementioned performance, the carrying capacity must be increased by 3 to 5 times compared to the N-12, reaching an astonishing 80 tons. As Yi Bai meticulously input these exceedingly demanding specifications into the system panel began high-speed calculations and simulations. Modification plan generating. Lines of complex code and data streams danced across the screen at a visible speed. In less than a minute, an extraordinarily detailed modification plan was presented to Yi Bai. He carefully reviewed the proposal, his astonishment growing exponentially. This plan perfectly aligned with all his requirements and even provided solutions that exceeded his expectations in many details. Module 1. Power System Upgrade. Kunpeng Variable Cycle Engine. The proposal suggested replacing the original 4 turboprop engines with 4 new Kunpeng Variable Cycle engines. This engine integrates advanced technologies such as turbofan, ramjet, and pulse detonation, allowing for seamless transitions between subsonic, supersonic, and hypersonic speeds. During subsonic cruising, it boasts high fuel efficiency and thrust. During supersonic cruising, it provides immense power, easily surpassing Mach 2. Module 2. Aerodynamic Layout Optimization, Xuanwu Adaptive Airframe. To meet the demands of supersonic flight, the plan thoroughly optimized the N-12's airframe. It will adopt a flying wing configuration, eliminating the vertical tail and integrating the fuselage with the wings, thus significantly reducing drag during supersonic flight. Additionally, the surface of the airframe will be covered with a layer of Xuanwu adaptive skin, which can adjust its microscopic structure in real time according to flight speed and altitude to achieve optimal aerodynamic efficiency. Chapter 402. Kunpeng Transport Aircraft. Module 3. Enhanced Stealth Performance. Shadow Composite Materials and Plasma Stealth. Regarding stealth, the plan proposed replacing the entire airframe with shadow composite materials, which not only possess ultra-high strength and high-temperature resistance, but can also absorb radar waves. Even more astonishing, it will integrate a plasma stealth system on the airframe's surface, creating a plasma layer around the body to deflect radar waves, achieving full-spectrum, omnidirectional radar stealth. Furthermore, to achieve optical stealth, the surface will be coated with a nanoscale adaptive color-changing layer that can adjust its color and texture in real time according to the surrounding environment, rendering the aircraft nearly invisible to the naked eye. Module 4. Enhanced Payload Capacity. Shinong Internal Space Optimization. In terms of payload, through redesigning and optimizing the internal space and employing an ultralight yet high-strength Shinong framework structure, the internal cargo hold volume will double while maintaining the same body dimensions, with the maximum load capacity increasing to 4 times its original, reaching an astonishing 80 tons. Simultaneously, the warehouse will be equipped with a modular rapid loading and unloading system, capable of swiftly completing the loading and unloading of heavy equipment. Module 5. High-Altitude Performance Enhancement. The Lingxiao Altitude Increase Module. To achieve flight in higher altitudes, the plan will introduce the Lingxiao Altitude Increase Module, utilizing a specialized pressurization and oxygen supply system, enabling the aircraft to maintain stable flight at altitudes exceeding 25,000 meters. This height is sufficient to render most ground-to-air missiles obsolete. However, upon observing the conspicuous figure at the bottom of the proposal, Yibai could not help but gasp in astonishment. This modification is projected to consume a staggering 200 million shock points. 200 million shock points. Absurd. This is utterly ludicrous. He could not restrain his exasperation. Though it pained him, Yibai understood that this expenditure of shock points was justified. After all, this was a supersonic stealth strategic transport aircraft. Its strategic significance was undoubtedly on par with the Longyuan passenger aircraft. This modification is expected to incur a construction cost of 200 million dragon coins. Upon seeing this figure, Yibai's mood lightened slightly. 200 million dragon coins, nearly equivalent to the current price of a large transport aircraft. Yet, this transport aircraft's performance is at least 20 years ahead of its time. This implies that once mass production commences, the profits will be astronomical. Now, the company could open another production line. Yibai contemplated inwardly. Selling this supersonic stealth strategic transport aircraft to the military would yield substantial profits. He wondered, however, if it would be possible to export it. A glimmer of brilliance flashed in his eyes. If it could be exported, even with the most critical technologies somewhat curtailed, it could still fetch an exorbitant price, resulting in massive profits. Yibai envisioned the future, countless orders flooding in his direction. With his calculations in mind, Yibai resolved not to hesitate any longer. System. Confirm the modification. With his command, the 200 million accumulated shock points were instantly deducted. Subsequently, the lights within the high-tech factory brightened once more. Countless robotic arms and machines surged towards the aging N-12 transport aircraft on the tarmac. Cutting, restructuring, melting, printing, Yibai again entered a state of seclusion. A month quietly passed. When the factory doors slowly opened again, a brand new aircraft, entirely painted in black, stood silently on the tarmac. Observing his creation, Yibai nodded in satisfaction. He picked up the internal phone on his desk and connected to the direct line of Wang Zhengwo, COO of Longyuan Group. As soon as the call was connected, Wang Zhengwo's excited voice came through. "Chairman, you have finally emerged." Yibai chuckled and directly inquired, "Mr. Wang, how has the production of Longyuan I progressed over the past month?" "Report, Chairman." Wang Zhengwo immediately responded. "The first production line has fully entered a state of maximum capacity. According to plan, in the first month, we have successfully produced 4 Longyuan I aircraft." 4? Yibai was momentarily taken aback. This figure exceeded his expectations by 1 unit. Considering this was a brand new production line, achieving such output in the first month was indeed remarkable. Sensing Yibai's astonishment, Wang Zhengwo offered a wry smile and explained, "Chairman, this is the result of our frantic efforts. You cannot imagine, since the last press conference, our company's phone has nearly exploded. Several major domestic airlines, including Air China, China Eastern Airlines, and China Southern Airlines, are practically queuing up, waving blank checks, vying for orders. They do not even inquire about the price, only about delivery timelines. Especially Air China, which placed an order for 30 aircraft, demanding delivery within 2 years. The online buzz about our Longyuan passenger aircraft remains exceedingly high. and it has even become a new business card for our nation, faced with such a multitude of orders. We had no choice but to urgently apply for approval to temporarily add another production line, which barely allows us to keep up. Hearing this, Yibai was also stunned. He knew Long Yuan would be a hit, but he did not anticipate it would reach such an extraordinary level. Clearly, domestic airlines had been constrained by Boeing and Airbus for far too long. Well done, Mr. Wang, Yibai praised. In that case, prepare another production line. No, prepare 2 additional production lines. 2 more. Wang Zhengwo exclaimed in surprise. Yibai smiled calmly and replied, this time, it is not for Long Yuan. This time, it is for the military aircraft. I will negotiate the contracts. You are responsible for preparing the production lines. I will send you the specific aircraft parameters and technical data shortly. Military aircraft? Wang Zhengwo's heart raced. This young chairman was about to make another significant move. Understood. Chairman, I will arrange it immediately. By the way, Wang Zhengwo asked before hanging up, does this new aircraft have a name? Yibai raised his head, contemplating for a moment. Let us call it Kunping. After saying this, Yibai hung up the phone. After disconnecting, Yibai picked up his mobile device to browse the online discourse. Since the press conference for Long Yuan the excitement surrounding the Long Yuan passenger aircraft and Long Yuan Group had not diminished. Rather, it had intensified. Various positive comments and accolades flooded the internet like a tidal wave. Chapter 403. Commander Nye shocked again and again. Today, I flew on a domestic flight and finally experienced Long Yuan. My goodness, that speed, that stability, completely shattered my perceptions of airplanes. Previously, flying felt like a roller coaster. Now, riding Long Yuan feels like sitting in my own living room, entirely oblivious to acceleration and turbulence. Incredible. Brother upstairs, you are so lucky. I have tried several times, but couldn't snag a ticket. I heard that currently only Air China has a few Long Yuan, and ticket prices have skyrocketed. I estimate it won't be long before other airlines have them. I have a relative who works at the Long Yuan Group's factory. He said production capacity is maxed out, with workers putting in overtime, and orders are already lined up for 3 years. I heard many foreign airlines are eagerly trying to place orders, but Long Yuan Group is simply ignoring them. They can't even handle domestic orders. Haraha. This is our Long Yuan. This is our Yi God. Who dare say our nation cannot produce excellent aircraft? Various boasts about the Long Yuan passenger aircraft and adoration for Yi Bai permeated the internet. Naturally, alongside these positive voices, some updates regarding Boeing and Airbus also caught Yi Bai's attention. Breaking news. Boeing and Airbus stocks continue to plummet, with market values evaporating by hundreds of billions of dollars. Haraha. I believed in Yi God and decisively shorted Boeing and Airbus stocks after the Long Yuan press conference. Now, I am reaping the rewards. Financial freedom. Thank you. Yi God. Thank you, nation. Me too. Yi God, forever. Following Yi God, and I'll have a villa by the sea. Upon reading these comments, Yi Bai couldn't help but smile. He knew that his earlier declaration at the press conference to take down Boeing and Airbus, while perhaps somewhat exaggerated, had successfully ignited the market. Those who believed in him were reaping substantial profits. If it weren't for the current limited production capacity of Long Yuan, Boeing and Airbus would have already collapsed. However, shorting both was still a viable option. He would contact Sun Ling and Jiang Chimo later to arrange for shorting, as well as the 100-ton king. It was the perfect opportunity to profit, and the funds at home would be nearly settled. At that time, he could have Long Yuan coordinate to announce production difficulties, claiming they couldn't produce aircraft, allowing Boeing's stock to rise slightly. Certainly, where there are substantial profits, there are also significant losses. I once doubted that the Dragon Kingdom could produce any remarkable aircraft, convinced that Yi Bai was merely boasting and would inevitably face failure. Consequently, during the plummet of Boeing and Airbus stocks, I leveraged my investments, eagerly buying at the bottom. Alas, I now find myself bereft of all my capital, utterly bankrupt. Yi Bai, I curse you. Indeed, all of it is nothing but digitally enhanced imagery. It is mere marketing hype. Domestic products are utterly unreliable. I staked my entire fortune on Boeing, and now it has vanished. Yi Bai, return my hard-earned money. Those who vent their frustrations in such vitriol are precisely the skeptics who once dismissed the capabilities of the Dragon Kingdom's technology, believing Yi Bai was merely boasting. Clinging to their blind prejudice and arrogance, they acted against the tide and ultimately faced their own financial ruin. Yi Bai, observing these expressions of ire and curses, merely smiled with disdain. Their fate is of their own making, regardless of the tumultuous opinions circulating online. The astonishing metrics displayed on Yi Bai's system panel filled him with elation. In just a month, he had amassed nearly 80 million in shock value, a testament to the sustained impact of the Long Yuan passenger aircraft. With a contented stretch, Yi Bai acknowledged that the transformation of the Kunping transport aircraft was complete. It was time for it to soar. Without hesitation, he contacted Commander Nye. Commander Nye, the aircraft has been modified. On the other end, Commander Nye was engrossed in urgent documents and paused in surprise at Yi Bai's words. What? Yi Bai, are you referring to the transport aircraft? Indeed. It is the supersonic stealth strategic transport aircraft we discussed last time, Yi Bai replied calmly. We can now reach out to Old Qian and the others to find a location for testing. So soon, Commander Nye sprang from his chair, astonished. He knew of Yi Bai's extraordinary abilities, yet the time from Yi Bai proposing the modification to him delivering the aging and 12. And now to Yi Bai declaring the aircraft was ready, had barely spanned a little over a month. A month. To construct a supersonic stealth strategic transport aircraft? It was nothing short of miraculous. Excellent. 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 Commander Nye exclaimed thrice, promptly issuing orders. Wait there. I will arrange for someone to pick you up. This time, I will go personally. He dared not let Yi Bai rely solely on the Snow Wolf team for protection. Although a regiment was stationed around the Black Technology Factory, Commander Nye felt it insufficiently secure for Yi Bai to leave the facility unaccompanied. He immediately dispatched a battalion from the nearest field force to rapidly safeguard Yi Bai's journey to the testing base. Soon, a grand convoy arrived at the Black Technology Factory. Upon stepping out of his vehicle, Commander Nye saw Yi Bai standing before the hangar, accompanied by an elderly gentleman with white hair. Old Qian. Yi Bai? Old Qian. Commander Nye hurried forward. Commander Nye. Both Yi Bai and Old Qian greeted him. Old Qian, what brings you here? Commander Nye inquired, surprised. Old Qian chuckled, explaining. I heard from the Dragon Institute that Yi Bai's aircraft was ready. How could I possibly sit still? At my age, I don't want to miss witnessing any miracles. Commander Nye laughed heartily at this. Before them stood a colossal, entirely black aircraft, forged from an unknown metal. It bore no resemblance to the bulky and cumbersome form of conventional transport aircraft. Instead, it showcased a sleek, futuristic design. The surface of the aircraft was seamless, devoid of any protruding rivets or joints. Commander Nye, Old Qian, this is the Kunping transport aircraft I have modified, Yi Bai stated, pointing at the aircraft. Commander Nye stared in disbelief. Yi Bai, is this truly the transport aircraft you mentioned? Its shape and presence resemble that of a strategic bomber. He was correct. It could certainly fulfill bombing missions as well. Yi Bai smiled and briefly outlined the Kunping's capabilities. Its maximum cruise speed could reach 25 Mach, with a ceiling exceeding 25,000 meters. It possessed omnidirectional, full-spectrum radar stealth capabilities, as well as optical stealth. In terms of payload, it could accommodate up to 80 tons. As Yi Bai enumerated these specifications, astonishment took complete hold of Commander Nye's countenance. Chapter 404, Testing Performance, Astonishment. 25 Mach. Over 25,000 meters. Omnidirectional, full-spectrum radar stealth. Optical stealth. 80 tons of payload. Each of these figures, when isolated, would send aviation experts worldwide into a frenzy. Yet, they were flawlessly integrated into this one transport aircraft. Old Qian trembled with excitement, reaching out to touch the smooth surface of the Kunping, his eyes filled with disbelief. Quick, quick, quick. Commander Nye could hardly contain his anticipation. He barely paused to ask another question before commanding his guards, immediately notify the special transport convoy, with the highest level of confidentiality. Transport this Kunping to the secret airport in the Central Theater. I want to commence testing at once. With the order given, the transport units stationed outside the factory sprang into action. Enormous specialized vehicles rolled onto the tarmac. Yi Bai watched the soldiers' readiness with astonishment. They first enveloped the Kunping in a thick, specialized canvas, designed to block all electronic signals, ensuring not a single gap remained. Then, they encased it in a large metal shell disguised as an ordinary shipping container. Finally, they secured this massive container onto the specialized transport vehicle. The entire process was airtight and meticulously executed. Commander Nye, is it really necessary to be this thorough? Yi Bai chuckled wryly. At this rate, not even a satellite could discern what lies within. Commander Nye's expression turned serious. Yi Bai, do not underestimate those foreign intelligence agencies. The unveiling of the Longyuan passenger aircraft has driven them into a frenzy. Countless eyes are fixated on you and your Black Technology Factory. He paused, adding, the strategic significance of this Kunping surpasses that of the Longyuan. Before it is officially revealed, we cannot let slip a single detail. Yi Bai nodded in understanding, recognizing the necessity of Commander Nye's caution. Soon, under the protection of dozens of armored vehicles, the Kunping transport aircraft, disguised as a shipping container, made its way to the secret airport in the Central Theater. Upon arrival, Commander Nya immediately ordered the entire airport to be evacuated. All unrelated personnel were cleared from the premises. Only Yi Bai, Old Qian, and a select few core Air Force experts remained, anxiously observing from the tower as the black behemoth gradually shed its disguise to reveal its true form. Yi Bai, let us begin with an empty load test, Commander Nya suggested. Following standard test flight protocols, a new aircraft's maiden flight typically commences with an empty load to ensure safety. However, Yi Bai shook his head. Commander Nya, that's unnecessary, he confidently asserted, gazing at the Kunpeng below. An empty load test holds no significance for it. If we are to test, we should do so fully loaded. Upon hearing these words, Commander Nya was momentarily taken aback, then burst into hearty laughter. Well, what a bold assertion. I admire your confidence. He promptly commanded the ground crew to load the pre-prepared counterweight modules, totaling an impressive 80 tons, into the cargo hold of the Kunpeng. Kunpeng 01 is fully loaded and ready for takeoff. Requesting clearance for departure. Takeoff approved. The order was issued. On the runway, the colossal black beast seemed to awaken from slumber. The 4 Kunpeng variable cycle engines emitted a deep rumble. In the next instant, amidst the astonished gazes from the control tower, this massive aircraft, laden with 80 tons of cargo, glided for less than 800 meters on the runway before ascending at an astonishing angle, piercing the sky. My heavens, 80 tons loaded. Takeoff distance under 800 meters? Is this truly a transport aircraft? Within the control tower, an Air Force expert responsible for data recording could not help but exclaim in disbelief at the incredible sight before him. In the air, the aircraft traced an arc and began to climb at a terrifying speed. 10,000 meters, 15,000 meters, 20,000 meters. Ultimately, as the aircraft effortlessly breached the altitude of 25,000 meters, entering near space, a collective gasp echoed throughout the control tower. 25,000 meters. Ascended with such ease. This altitude was beyond the reach of most surface-to-air missiles. Elder Qian trembled with excitement. Following this, the speed test sent everyone into a frenzy. Kunpeng 01 requests to conduct supersonic cruise testing. Approved. Acknowledged. High above, the tail of the Kunpeng erupted with four brilliant blue flames. On the radar screen in the tower, the numbers representing the speed of the Kunpeng began to soar at a heart-stopping pace. 12 Mach, 15 Mach, 18 Mach, 20 Mach. When the figure representing twice the speed of sound appeared clearly on the screen, the entire control tower fell into a profound silence. Everyone was utterly stunned by this miraculous spectacle. At 80 tons loaded, 25,000 meters high, cruising at twice the speed of sound. This was no mere transport aircraft. Such terror. Commander Nya gazed at the rapidly moving light point on the screen, murmuring to himself. He realized that from this day forth, the strategic airlift capability of Longwo would undergo an unprecedented and revolutionary leap. Observing the astonished expressions on the faces of those in the control tower, as if they had been struck by a spell, Yi Bai merely smiled. The real spectacle had only just begun. Commander Nya, Elder Qian. Yi Bai's voice shattered the silence in the tower. Speed and altitude are merely the appetizers. What follows is the true forte of the Kunpeng: radar stealth and optical invisibility. Upon hearing this, Commander Nya and Elder Qian jolted back from their stupor. Yes, stealth. This is the Kunpeng's core and most terrifying capability. Quick! Commander Nya immediately seized the intercom, issuing commands to the radar control center below. Order all radar stations to power up. Lock onto Kunpeng 01 with maximum power. I want to see if it can truly vanish under our very noses. With the command given, several state-of-the-art radar systems representing Longwo's pinnacle of technology instantly activated around the airport. Meter wave radar, phased array radar, early warning radar, a web of electromagnetic waves intertwined, enveloping the entire airspace. In the center of the control tower, the green light point representing the Kunpeng was clearly visible to everyone. Kunpeng 01, received. Commencing radar stealth test. Initiating phantom plasma stealth system. Inside the cockpit, the test pilot pressed the button. The next moment, under the breathless gaze of those in the tower, the clear green light point on the screen flickered, and then, before their very eyes, it vanished into thin air. Gone. Truly gone. A radar operator in the control center, monitoring the screens, gasped in disbelief at the sight of an entirely clean screen, without any signal reflection. How is this possible? Switch radar modes. Try the meter wave radar. Report. The meter wave radar cannot detect the target either. What about the phased array radar? Adjust the scanning frequency. Report. The phased array radar has found nothing as well. One astonished and incredulous report after another flooded in from the radar control center. Inside the control tower, everyone was utterly dumbfounded by this almost supernatural phenomenon. It was important to note that the radar systems deployed here were the most advanced in the world. They could even detect the presence of a bird flying hundreds of kilometers away. Yet now, facing this colossal coinping, they had collectively gone blind. This is what full-band radar stealth looks like. Elder Qian trembled with excitement, gripping the railing before him, his eyes filled with fervor. This is terrifying. This is simply a ghost. A ghost that can fly at twice the speed of sound at 10,000 meters.